Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. It's been a while. I figured I got a few minutes here to reconnect with everybody. Hope everybody's staying safe, uh, not taking any risks, and just doing the best that you can in quarantine, California. What a crazy 6 months we've had so far, and I expect it to get even crazier as time goes on here. Um, Anybody else feeling it? Anybody else feeling the tension? California, man, I think California is just completely done. Just done. It's overcooked. It's done. Reconnect. Why not? Whatever can go wrong will go wrong. We just got to make the best of the situation that we're in. That's it. Do the best you can. Stand your ground where it's needed. Pick your battles. Fight your battles. But it's been kind of nice to be, for the most part, off of social media. And I do miss doing, some of these live shows. I do miss that stuff. So hopefully we'll get back to that. Probably not until next month or so, just the way things are going. And like I said, I'm just this state has just, I thought it couldn't get any worse in California. I thought we were done, we were past all of that, and come to find out that no, we're just getting started. Have to wear masks now, and if you're in public, you have to wear a stupid mask. And if people want to wear that, if that makes you feel better or whatever, that's, I don't have any issue with that. But it's the mandatory stuff that generally just irks me and just drives me crazy. So I don't know, I'm kind of burnt out. Like I said, burnt out on all the stuff that is going on. You look at all these riots and these race wars and everything, and it's like I thought we were past all that. I thought we were well beyond all of that drama. And it's like, no, there's still a lot of people in this world that want to keep dwelling on it. They want to keep dwelling on it, not really making anything better. Being violent towards people and shaming people is not going to help the situation that we find ourselves in. It's only going to ruin your life. The more time you're spending out there being violent is less time that you're spending focusing on the problems and trying to move past those problems. And it has become clear that some people just do not want to move past those problems. They want to live in that. They want to dwell on it. They want to use it, hold it, covet it, keep it as a shield to justify their wrong actions. And I just don't have any time for that. I don't have any time for violent people, for selfish people, or even for stupid people. I just cannot waste any more time than I've already wasted, and I'm just not going to do it. So I have been working on a new book. I got the first draft done, so hopefully I'll have something in my hands that I can look at very, very soon. Really looking forward to that, to having some of those, just getting back into the swing of things, into some type of a normal world, a normal life, whatever you want to call it. But this is all just a lot of this. I think it's just all aimed at Donald Trump. That's how I truly feel. A lot of this is just about him. It's about going after him and making the country bad, dropping down the country, chaos out of order, order out of chaos, that whole thing that we've all been dealing with for a long, long time. And I'm just pretty much over it. I'm over all of that drama. I'm over all of the infighting and all of the racism. We grew up in that world where just every white person is bad, and black people can't be racist, and it's just so backwards. It's so upside down to what it should be. So obviously, knowing that, we all came from one man and one woman, that's where my focus is. That's where I want to keep my focus all the time, permanently. And you can see through this stuff. You can see through the tools that they use to keep us separated. And again, it's nothing new. It's all the same stuff, all the same drama. But when are we going to get back to real life, to normal life? Am I going to have to leave California in order to just have some type of a normal life of what things should be? Maybe they never were. I don't know. But it's frustrating, and I'm sure I'm not the only one. I'm sure everybody's kind of going through something. And I'm still blessed. I still feel blessed for everything that God has given me. I want to appreciate everything that He's given me. All this time to work at home, to be closer to my family, work out problems. Everything happens for a reason. We can make the best of the situation that we're in right now, or we can make it worse. The choice is always ours. And I'm not going to put myself, my family in a situation, to make things worse. Something has got to change. And I don't know if that means getting out of this state. I don't know if that means standing here and fighting for everything that we love about this state of California. I really don't know. But the program is getting bigger. The program with these stage riots, stage protests, stage violence, burning things down, it's getting worse, and the program is expanding. There's nowhere to go. There's nowhere to run from all of these problems and all of the stuff that we see. We do have to pick our battles, definitely, but I don't know. I feel like I'm at one of those crossroads, I guess, and I need to do some change. I need to change my life, change the course of my life, change the direction that I'm going in, and make sure that it's for Jesus Christ. If it's not for Him, then anything that I do does not matter. That's where the focus needs to be. That's where the focus needs to stay constantly. So we'll see. I wanted to do some more on the David Crowley issue and get back to doing some more conference calls, things like that. And just a lot of things have gotten put on hold or pushed back, I guess. And it's all in time, Just got to make the best of it. Do what you can. But we'll see where everything goes from here. Still getting a lot of new people joining the Justice for David Crowley group. And that's why I think, the conference calls were really meant for them. Were meant for the people, the newer people who want to express their thoughts, their views on the David Crowley case. For people that want to get caught up, that have questions. So that's one of the big reasons why I do the replay streams. So that people, I want them to get caught up as much as possible. I don't want them to get tricked by any of the drama or any of the fake news that is out there. I want to keep it as positive and as clean as possible. So I don't know. We'll see. I still need to do the part 2 to the David Crowley script video. Hopefully I'll be able to do that soon. But like I said, right now everything is just kind of on hold. I've really had to just refocus a lot of different things, refocus my whole life, my priorities. And I just wanted to let everybody know that we're not going anywhere. And we're still here. I don't know what's going on with Bohemian Grove either. Last year was kind of clunky, was kind of funky. But we were there. made it out there. We've made our presence known. We'll see what happens this year. Hopefully we can do something similar this year as well. So trying to think of any other updates, any other thing. I watched Trump's rally. I thought it was great. You know, I always enjoy Trump's rallies. I think it's a it's a motivator, and it really helps me stay focused and stay off of the drama. And you know, I don't watch cable news. I don't have cable, so I don't have to worry about that. But looking at some of the stories and some of the things that they're posting on cable, it's just wow. That is bad. It gets worse and worse and worse. But you know, the world is not so bad. Things are not that bad. Life is still good. We are still here for a purpose. You have to find your purpose. And if your purpose does not include Jesus Christ, then you have not found your purpose yet. God wants you to do something very powerful while you are here on this earth temporarily. And it's up to you to figure out what that is. And it's up to you to keep praying to Him that He gives you understanding of what that really is. Because sometimes we think we know what God wants us to do, and God steers us in a totally different way. So for me, I got to stay open to that, and I just try to be as fluid as possible. If He wants me here, He'll put me here. Wherever God wants me, that's where He's going to put me, if I let Him. So, hope everybody stays blessed. Hope you're all doing well. Just wanted to check in here for a couple minutes, and you know, let's keep working on our relationship with Jesus Christ. Let's keep working on our relationship with family, with friends. Let's not argue on social media. Let's do whatever we can do to not get into the divisive mode, avoid racism, know that we all came from one man, one woman, so we don't have to worry about race. We don't have to worry about any of that junk, any of that jargon, all the stuff that's just used to just separate God's people. It's up to us if we're going to let it happen. I've decided a long time ago that I'm not going to let that happen. I'm not going to focus on race. I'm not going to focus on different groups, on different things. You know, that's just my personal choice. And I think millions of people, I think many of the people in this world also don't care. They don't care about that. They don't care about what race you are. Even some of the most evil people in this world, do you really think they care about race? When they're talking about power, and they're talking about glory, and they're talking about money, do you really think, you know, that race really plays that they factor that in? I really don't think so. I don't think they factor any of that in, unless they're talking about how to keep people separate. Well, yeah, you put this race over here, you put that race there, but come on, as Christians, we know better. We know better. We know that that's not the right way. That's not how we need to live our life. So the world is crazy, but remember, we're here for a very short time. Let's make the best of it. God bless you all. Hope you all have a great day. I hope to be back here doing some more of these live things here, but like I said, you know, just time, and I hopefully will have the draft of my next book going on. Then I'll start working on my coronavirus book, and see y'all soon, hopefully.
Alright, and today we're going to be looking at the evidence of a staged crime scene. This was from a poll from the group. Let's see if I could pull that poll up here to kind of show you. We'll check the check the stats. Hopefully we're live. Looks like we're on YouTube now. Yay.
Okay.
Hey, Sophia.
Hello, Greg. How are you?
Not bad, not bad. Let me pull this up here so we can make sure that within the last few minutes the poll hasn't changed, and then we gotta rearrange everything if that happens. Let's take a look.
Have you put this in the group yet? We're live?
Yes. Yeah. We might want to do that again. It might not be a bad idea here. And I can do that while we're live, because I do want to try to start out these shows with kind of looking at some of the latest activity on the Justice for David Crowley and Family Facebook group. So let's see. 41, 42, 43 people voted for evidence of a staged crime scene. 10 people voted to read a chapter of my future book that should be out hopefully on Christmas. 9 people voted for the strange death of David's mother, so that's another interesting topic too. And 6 people voted for psychology, military training, mind control, PTSD, stigma, depression, anxiety, super soldier training. Wow, that is a mouthful, and that is I'm surprised that one didn't get more hits. 5 people voted for social media posts, the last days of David Crowley. 3 people voted for the awesome job of the AVPD, and everyone else who missed a bullet in the living room carpet and a bullet hole above and a bullet above their heads. Sorry, that's a big mouthful here. 3 people also voted for the 50,000 cash withdrawal. I think that's an interesting one as well. Only 2 people voted for Kenneth Maines. I think people are kind of over the Kenneth Maines thing. The same 2 people voted for Paranormal Activity, and 2 rambunctious rebels voted for Epstein didn't kill himself. I thought I was being got 2 people somehow. I would be curious how you guys would be able to tie that in. Let's go ahead and say hi to everybody in the chat room. Hey Ellie, hey Catherine, hey Patty, hey The Real Karma, Pansy, and Jerome. Welcome everyone.
Hey,
Thank
everybody.
you all for joining us. Appreciate that. And of course, we also have our good buddy Ross. He's also listening, and so he will be popping in from time to time. Definitely always good to have him on there too.
Yes, sir.
Thanks, Ross. So, just wanted to kind of go over, make sure that the results hadn't changed yet. So they did not. So unfortunately, we will be discussing evidence of a staged crime scene tonight. The date is 12/12/2019, 6 p.m. Pacific time. Let's go ahead, and if you don't know, you should know by now that Dan Hinnon has started a group, Justice for David Crowley and Family, on Facebook. Please go there. We got over 2,800 members right now, and counting and growing. 10 million strong and growing. That's where we want to get to. So when you scroll here, some of the things that you'll notice is you can sort by new activity, or you can sort by the most recent posts. For this, I'm going to sort by the most recent posts. And of course, we have the timeline. That will be the first thing that always pops up. So if you don't know about the timeline, please go watch Dan Hinnon's video on the timeline. Lori had posted the most recent thing, and this is very interesting, and it does tie in with what we are talking about here. Crime scene staging. That article is very interesting. Why didn't my like go through? What's up with that? Okay, well now you have proof that I have liked that one. So, Sophia or anybody in the chat room, has anybody read this yet? I have not read this, but I'm curious to read it. It's not that long, so I will make sure that I cover that. Oh, it even has an audio version there too. You can listen to it. Let's see. Let's go ahead and so that's a good one. Some of the other things people have been posting. Sandra has been posting. She was having some issue with uploading some of the PDFs. She's looking for a video, and I tried searching for this video today, and I could not find it. I just searched for David Crowley bioweapons, but she's looking for a video that David Crowley did. And maybe Ross, maybe if you, I don't know if you've seen this in the past or if you come across it in the future, if anybody does, please help us find it. But it's a video where David is talking about bioweapons and other weapons used against people. There are some that are made to harass and torture, and I also read about mind control. Anyway, I can't find the vid where David is talking about bioweapons and some of this type of stuff, but I know it's out there because I've seen it and heard it. So if anybody can help find that, I'd be curious to find that too. I'd be curious to see what that is all about. And then, of course, Sophia has added the information about the call tonight. Shannon has said, David's remaining hand is posed exactly the way the family photo on the bookshelf is on the blood wall. The killers must have done that, being sarcastic. I'm looking forward to this evening. So I think it's a different hand. It does look like the same pose, though, right? But it is a different hand.
Mm-hmm.
See if I can
It's
find that.
It was the other hand, the one that's missing.
Right. So maybe that was a pose that David did. Maybe he did that with his hand, and that's just how his hand ended up.
But even, that's what I was going to say, but how would you even time that right to recreate that post-mortem, you know?
Right.
Is that what the question is?
Correct.
Well, the gun was also found on the left-hand side. He can't shoot himself, drop the gun, and put his hand in that pose consecutively or anyway
Correct.
like that.
Not by himself, anyway.
Correct, yes. I'm sorry, I could have phrased that a whole lot better.
Well, it could have been a ghost. Could have been his dog.
I guess.
There you go.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the
it's a
dog
dog.
did it.
It's a
Go with
dog.
the dog. I'm gonna go with the dog theory. I mean, everyone else is for everything, so.
It's just easier. Yep.
Yeah.
Trying to find that
Blame
image.
everything
here.
on Paleo.
Unfortunately, which all the
talented Mr. Paleo.
all those dog lovers know that, you know, they're just like, there's no way that this dog could have done this. You know, I can't tell you how many dog lovers, how many dog owners that I've talked to that's the biggest thing. That's what brought a lot of people to this case, was looking at what happened with that dog and how could a guy leave this dog there to starve and everything, and then they start looking deeper and it's like, wait a minute. That's not possible. And then that dog, the size of the dog, a medium-sized half beagle, right? So, anyways, I was gonna see if I can
The
find
other
that.
thing that I noticed was most of the time, well, not most of the time, like the Philip Marshall case,
Mhm.
where that seems very suspicious, and we kind of think that it's a government hit, especially with his case. And the operatives that came in and supposedly killed the family, they killed their dog. Where this case, the dog was left alive, which leads me to assume that if it had been somebody who knew the family and knew Paleo, that they just didn't have the heart to kill Paleo. But with that same theory, there was a 5-year-old child that was murdered.
Right.
They didn't have the heart to kill Paleo, but they slaughtered a little girl. That's just extremely cold.
It is. It really
mean,
is.
Well,
Looking at it that way, but
part of that is like Paleo's not going to tell anyone, at least not in English, and you know, a child,
true.
any person or child's going to be a witness. So there's that.
that is true. He can't go out there and blab to everybody. But he could
Correct.
show it in other ways.
Yeah, that's true.
He could be uncomfortable around whoever did it, which I've heard
Yep.
rumors.
I could definitely see that.
Mhm.
Well, right now we're looking at BCA image 5052. So just kind of jumping ahead a little bit here, but this will just kind of get this kicked off, get this started, I guess, because this is one of the ones that I don't know if this would qualify as a stage. It's something that looks staged, but because we don't have the full image of David's hand. But this is David's left hand. And as we've seen, we have another photo where David's left hand is next to the Quran. So the Quran has also moved in this image. Is what I would think here. So, and then the way that all of the Quran pages are also torn out, I would say that, you know, where they are, how they're found, but and then of course we got our skull cap up here. We'll be talking more about that in the future with Catherine.
And
But
I did include a photo of the blue blanket, and that photo shows that the skull cap was underneath the blue blanket. So at some point, it was moved. I'm trying to see it in your PowerPoint, but for some reason there's some
it's
links.
it's one of the last ones, I think it's in there. So
Yeah, it's just not loading properly for me.
okay, we'll find it.
I can
We will
fix it out
find
and
it.
go back in.
But I will get going on the actual PowerPoint for what we're here for. But I just wanted people to see that image, and then I believe we compare to BCA 4756, and you can see where David's hand is right there. So his finger is here. The Quran is not there. So again, there, you know, things like that just kind of just even where the Quran was found is an interesting one as well. But okay, before we get too far on here, I want to welcome everybody who I haven't welcomed yet. And Sharon says, whoever did this didn't just take them out, they made it look like he was an extremist and crazy, so people would let Gray State go. That's a great point. Yeah,
Yeah, I have to agree.
it really is.
They went above and beyond on that one.
Yeah.
I mean, you could kind of say that a Gray State documentary kind of sprinkled the cherry on top of that as well.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Absolutely. Let's see. Ellie says, frequency, bombardment, V2K, voice to skull, voice to God, DEW, hypnosis, mind control, and the like are all real, and it's certainly plausible. And there has been a lot of talk about that as well, that we've seen. Patty says that there's no blood on Kamel's sock, which also is another interesting one. Where did all of the blood go, Jerome asks. And we have more people believing that that there is evidence that they were killed somewhere else. So I know that's been another thing that has come up too. And I blame Pansy for all of that. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, the thing with the blood is, out of the, was it 16 or 19 tests that were ran, they took lots of samples, but they only ran about 16 or 19. It was one of those numbers for DNA tests. Of all the blood samples that they took and ran the tests for, it came back to Kamel.
None of
Like
David's blood.
Blood on the floor,
Yeah.
blood on the computer, blood on the phone, the wall. It's all Kamel. There should be more blood at that scene, especially from David and from Ronnie. But there isn't. There's no mixture of her blood. Ronnie's and Kamel's, there's no mixture and blood splatter of any of them except for Kamel. And I've said this many times in other videos, it looks like Kamel staged the scene if you were to go by the DNA. But that's impossible with the results from the bullets. I mean, I don't know. It disturbs me how lacking in the DNA evidence for David and Ronnie.
Yep. And going back, Catherine, go ahead, finish your point.
Well, the same thing with fingerprints, too. There should be fingerprints everywhere. And we only find one on the notebook.
Speaking of fingerprints, why do you think so many people tried to tell us that there were David's fingerprints? They were everywhere. His footprints, his fingerprints, everything. They had it. Why do you think that people would tell us that if it was not true? Were they counting on us not digging that deep, not asking for the documents? Or are they just messing with us?
Maybe they didn't expect us to get all the documents that we did.
Why lie? That is the biggest thing for me. Why lie about something like that? You know, it makes no sense, and it makes them look very, very shady, if not suspicious.
Yeah. And you find that with so many things too. Like David walked around the house and there's bloody footprints everywhere, and he was alive for 3 days. Staging the scene and holding the family or holding the girls and stuff like that.
Right.
And you just don't see that. It's like, who came up with these lies? Well, I can tell you who came up with them, but
spoiler.
It's ridiculous that certain people are still repeating those lies, though, after it's been proven.
Correct. So Catherine brought up image number, this is BCA 5052. The Quran pages look to be ripped by hand. There are no dog teeth marks on the page, and the tears are consistent with the person tearing them apart. That's very important. And ripped pages like this are found on both ends of that carpet. Meaning somebody went over to where Kamel was, and there are ripped pages like this over there too. So any pack theory, anything like that, again, it's just all just meant to just cast doubt in people that don't really want to find out what happened. Right? People that want to believe in fairy tales and magic fairy dust.
Or don't want to research.
Or don't want to research. Or both, yes. And Sharon says, does that photo you just showed with David's hand and bracelet show a long sleeve shirt on the arm? Yes, this is David's long sleeve shirt. So, for me, who doesn't know anything about blood and any of that stuff, that's what I'm thinking this is. Is this decomp? Is this decomp? Is this blood? What? Obviously, this was, I believe this was a white long sleeve, if I remember correctly. I think it's in the document somewhere. I think it shows what color it is, but you can obviously see that it is red. It is dark red, almost like a leathery red, and you can see David's tat. You can see the tat on his left arm right here, and they just like, hey, just in case you guys want to know who this is, boom, positive ID. Even though they didn't get positive ID for a couple weeks, but that didn't stop them from thinking David Crowley was guilty within 24 hours. Let's see. Okay. Jerome is saying...
Could you imagine if they would have held off of making that call until after the DNA came back?
That would have been great. That would have been great. I think it would have changed a lot of things, obviously, right? But that's what they should have done. So I don't know why they had to rush. If David's project was dead, if there was nothing to worry about, the public is not in any danger or anything. I mean, it's just, anyways. Jerome said, I haven't studied this Quran photos that well. Do you think the whole Muslim honor killing angle is a red herring? At Catherine. So that's specifically for Catherine. I'll let her answer. And she says, yes, I do, Jerome. Yes, I
have to
do.
agree.
Nova Coco is saying they are being paid to lie. Who is being paid to lie? We're talking about the investigators, or she might be talking about when we mentioned friends who said that David's fingerprints and footprints were everywhere, but then they obviously were not.
Can I add all of the above?
Sure, why not? Ellie says, sorry, that's also AVPD and David's friends and family. Okay. The book was a plant. That's what Patty Barbie is saying in the chat room right now. The book was a plant. And I think that's been another popular theory too, that the book was the David, or the Quran. I don't know whose Quran. I guess it's supposed to be Kamel's Quran, but that that Quran is part of a staged crime scene. It does not make sense. It does not add up. But yet you have three of that. You have the Quran with pages torn out, which I don't know how Muslims would feel about that, if that's something that they would normally do in an honor killing type thing like this. But you have the Quran on the floor, you got the blood writing on the wall, and then you have the handwriting in the notepad. But there is an inconsistency with what is written on the kitchen laptop. Nothing Muslim is mentioning, no Allah, no submit to anybody, nothing like that. So the consistency there is also lacking. Let's see, can you blow that up, please? Let's see if I can blow this one a little bit back up. I'll try to make it, if I blow it up here, it probably won't like it at 100. That's probably too much, but it's going to be hard to see unless that little piece moves, which it won't. So that'll be hard to blow up for that. I'll try. I'll see if I can get that in. Hey, Iconic Meek Rat, thanks for joining us. Thanks for everybody. If I haven't mentioned your name, I really appreciate everybody joining us right now. We got 19 people in this chat room. Keep up those comments. We haven't even gotten started here. We're just pre-showing it. We're doing a little pre-show here pretty much, but we're going to get rocking and rolling into some of the evidence of a staged crime scene, definitely. Now, before we do that, I believe Sharon was kind enough to make this. Let me see if I can enlarge this one here. Okay, so this was from Catherine's video that she did, which is great. People really need to go and watch that, and you can clearly see where the summary is in the first image. Here's where summary is. Here's where summary is in the second image. And then, looking also at where this little V shape is here. And then looking at where the little V shape is here. It's like a piece got evaporated or something within one image. I don't know. And then you look at it down here, and it's clear what you guys have been saying. The skull piece is moving. It has moved 3 times. So this image, I just wanted to put that in there. Thank you for making that image and for adding that into our group. We have so many great people in our group. So many people that don't have, that aren't about playing games, that aren't here to just stir up trouble or to just cast doubt. We have really sincere, honest people who are trying to find out what happened here, realizing that what we are told is not the whole story. It is just a very, very small part of that story. So here is another image where you can kind of see the comparison, maybe a little bit better, and you can clearly see what has happened here. Boom, there it is. Next image. Oh, it's gone. And it's gone. I don't know. I don't understand that. Within one image. So, I don't know. Sophia, I'm going to go ahead and show this image here. Let me just skip around. There we go. You'll see that in a few seconds. And I'm just going to see what I'm missing in the chat. Yeah, the chat is moving, Jerome. You're right. I'm going to back up a little bit, see what I'm missing here in the chat. So I know there's a lot of good stuff here, so please don't feel bad if you have a good point and you want to repeat that point. That's fine. Let's see, Sharon is saying, so David had a long sleeve shirt on with a couple of other shirts, if I remember correctly. That's right. Also, he is wearing a scarf and no socks. Kamel shirt and sweater with sweatpants. That's right. Yep. And Kamel was wearing a Gray State t-shirt. And I always found that fascinating because they were trying to tell us that Kamel was not, she didn't like this project. She didn't want David doing it. She didn't want anything to do with this project, which we find out is not true. That this trustworthy team that they were rebuilding was basically David and his wife, and they were trying to get other people involved in building a trustworthy team. Let's see. Jerome asks, how many people believe Kamel and Rania may have been harmed in front of David? That's a scary thought. That's a really scary thought. And that, I'm sure that's the worst case scenario, to have to sit there, have to stand there and watch your loved one or your loved ones be killed right in front of you.
I can't even imagine.
I feel like, this is Stephanie. Hello, everybody.
Hey, Stephanie. Thanks for joining
Stephanie.
I feel like the only way this would have went down is if David was taken out first, or if Kamel and Rania were being threatened in front of him to make him do whatever he was needed to do.
Right. That makes sense to me. Yep.
Because, one of either he's going to be fighting his butt off to, get whoever it is away from his family, to protect his family, or, like, in that instance, if he's doing whatever he can to protect him, they're going to take him out first because he's the biggest threat. But if they're using Rani and Kamel as like a bargaining chip of, hey, you do this for us, or we're going to do this to them, that's really the only two ways it could have gone.
Yep.
I think, at least.
Who do you think died first?
Yeah,
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I don't think it makes sense that it would have been David first, just because if he's being blackmailed for, either money or the script or, whatever the case may be that we possibly hypothesize, it makes sense, like you said, that, they're going to use anything that they can against him in order to try to get him to break,
Yep.
I actually kind of had a thought. Like, it's not quite a theory yet, because I'm not quite to that point with it, but I was wondering if maybe, the small notepad in the office,
Mm-hmm.
where it said, open Gray State The Rise, most recent version, and then submit to Allah, and then now is, like, lower. Like, I almost feel like that was maybe possibly a, like, conversation, like somebody, like, communicating with David and, like, maybe pointing to these things. Like, maybe they asked him a question, and maybe David wrote, open Gray State The Rise, most recent version, and then they wrote, like, the next thing, like, maybe it's, like, a conversation. I don't know. It's not quite a full idea. Like, it was just, like, an errant thought while I was going through the pictures. But it would make sense if that was the case, if it was, like, them, like, well, where is such and such? And he's like, oh, well, look in Gray State The Rise, most recent version. And then whatever else transpired. But they would have been able to use Kamel and Rani as, like a club over David's head,
Mm-hmm. Do you think David wrote that?
I don't think he wrote all of it.
I don't think he wrote the now.
Which part do you think he wrote?
I think he
Yeah,
opened.
I agree.
I think I'm trying to remember it straight. Excuse me. I'm trying to remember it. I'm off my game today, and I apologize to everybody.
Okay.
The open part, I think he wrote that, and submit to, and I swear up and down that it says Alan
It's
and not Allah. And we can agree to disagree on
Okay,
that.
all
That's
right.
totally okay, but it makes more sense that way. But I think
Well,
that's
like
what he wrote.
Greg has this picture up of the notebook. Like, if you look at the blood dot, it almost looks like somebody is pointing to these things on the page, like maybe with blood on their hand, like pointing to it. Like,
Yes, this is David's
you know what I mean?
fingerprint. This is one of these, whichever fingerprint was tested. This is the only place where David's fingerprint was ever found, is on this page. And there's 1, 2, 3, 4, probably 4 good fingerprints, and they only tested 1.
And these are bloody fingerprints or what?
These are bloody fingerprints.
Mhm.
This is Kamel's blood, but it matched his fingerprint. So maybe he was pointing here. Maybe he was trying to tell somebody something, trying to give some type of a warning. I think that's one of the big things we've probably all been really looking for. Did David leave anything, any track that was kind of like a help me sign?
And how about dipping his hand in it and then pressing his hand on that, paper against his will, or given that the hand is missing, making those fingerprints with just the hand alone.
Right.
Did we ever find out which finger that fingerprint belonged to?
That was
it the
his-
right or the left?
His left middle finger.
Are you kidding?
No, I'm not kidding. That also kind of seemed staged because it's like
because it's the middle finger.
it's
Like a FU.
pretty much it's the last, and I don't know how you guys write, but when I write, my left middle finger is nowhere in sight. Nowhere in sight.
No, I'm
So-
using my thumb and my pointer finger when I'm writing. My
Right.
middle finger is normally tucked down.
Right. So maybe
Yeah.
that was his warning sign, but again, it's just a guess.
The big final FU.
Pretty much, yeah. Not to us, to the people that might have set him up. Possibly, it could
Right.
have been to
Yeah.
us too. I don't know, but
Well, it's just weird because it's like sometimes I'll tilt the pad if I'm writing on a pad, and I can hold it with my left hand, but it's nowhere near the paper,
Mhm.
like where those bloody fingerprints are. So I don't know.
So David was right-handed.
right.
So I mean that, if anything, would have been like maybe a partial print of his thumb or pointer finger of his right hand. But if it's his left hand, is he holding it with his middle finger and his thumb, or how's he doing that?
Good question.
It's quite awkward to hold a little pad like that.
I'm wondering if they took the pad to David after he was dead and just wrote them out with his hand and leaving the fingerprint that way.
And then set
That seems
this
like
here.
extra steps. That seems very complicated.
It
That's
does.
not how I imagined it.
It's weird
No.
trying to figure out how it matches.
Well, because before I was thinking that David had wrote all that except for the now. The killers came in, they saw that, and said, "Oh, we're going to make those a hate crime." And so they brought in the Quran, tore the Quran up, wrote the Allah Akbar or Allahu Akbar on the wall as all part of the staging. But now it's just with the left hand and the fingerprints and the blood. Yeah. Has me thinking a whole lot of other things.
So Nova Coco in the chat room is asking, is that a bracelet on David's arm? Yes, that was a bracelet on David's arm. Most definitely. Do we have somebody else with us here on the call that joined us?
Paulette's here.
Hey, Paulette.
Oh, hey, Paulette.
Hi.
Hi.
I couldn't figure out how to get here without joining the call, so joined the call.
Makes
Just got
sense.
home.
Okay. Welcome.
Yeah. Thanks.
We're just getting started here. We're on slide 2 of 15 slides, so we're just
Okay.
keeping up and seeing what's in the chat room. Ross and Sophia and Stephanie are all here on the live call, and then we got about 24 people in the live chat room right now too. So I'm gonna
Wow,
go
that's
through
good.
see if there's any other thing that in the chat room before we move on to our next slide here. But it looks
There was
So-
a good bit of talk about how Ranny was in like a short sleeve shirt, and David and Kamel were both more covered up.
Mhm. Yes, Ronnie was just wearing sweatpants and a T-shirt, was it a T-shirt button down or just a regular T-shirt?
I thought it was just a pajama T-shirt.
Yeah, it was a polka dot shirt
Mhm.
that was put all the way up to her neck, basically pulled all the way up to her neck.
And what I was trying to say in the chat was that she was surprisingly underdressed for the temperature of the house in the middle of the winter.
That's a good point.
I mean, she would have been very, very cold without socks on, with just a T-shirt and the sweatpants, unless she had been asleep.
See, I agree with her being asleep because we keep our house at like 68 degrees, and it's fairly warm with the amount of blankets that we have on the bed during winter. And my kids sleep in like a short sleeve pajama top and some pants. And so, I mean, it seemed to me like either they were getting ready for bed, they were, like Randy was in bed, or they had just gotten up.
Interesting. Very interesting. Ross, did you have something you wanted to say before I move on here?
I was just thinking, as far as the note, is there any? I know this wasn't done, obviously, but is there any way to verify if the open the latest version of the Rise could have been written previously? You know what I mean? It's basically just a note, maybe from David to Kamel, and then the other stuff added later, like that week. You know what I mean? Like as if it was just something he was working on previously.
Yeah, it's possible. Definitely. I mean, we
Yeah,
can't
it's
say
very
for sure.
That's what I'm saying. Two completely
Yeah.
unrelated things.
Given the other stuff in that notebook, Greg, I think it was you that had pointed out that the notebook looked like it was just like flipped to a random page. Because it was that the one that had like recipes or something from Kamel on it.
Right. It was
Yeah.
flipped to page 30, and there were 59 pages total. So it was kind of like, well, why flip
Yeah, I
it
mean,
there? Yeah.
Ross, was it?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yep.
that was a good point that you just said, because, I mean, that's completely possible that it was just a random thing. With the top part, he may have left a note to Kamel.
Right. Then somebody else scribbles that extra message on there, as far as the staging, you know, to make it look related.
That's a good possibility.
Now, how would they, if they would have done handwriting tests, which they should have done, but for whatever reason they didn't do, if they would have done that, would something like that help us? I mean, everybody looking at this image here, is there any way to see if this was written at separate times? I mean, I would have to basically weigh, okay, it's written in the same pen, what it looks like. It looks like the same person wrote it. to me, someone who doesn't know anything about handwriting, just as a lay person looking at this, why would I think that this was written at two separate times? Why does everybody think that? I think it's because these are like two separate sentences. These are two completely separate things. What does one have to do with the other, right? Is that why you guys think this might have been written at separate times?
Well, I don't know anything about forensics, but that's basically what my question was. If there's some scientific way by testing the ink or something like that, to determine that one part is written older than the other. I mean,
right.
Yeah, I don't come from any kind of scientific background, but it's kind of my question.
Yeah, that's a great question.
I know as far as the pen ink would go, they could tell if it was a different pen ink, but I'm not sure if they could do, like, if they could figure out if one was written and then the other one was written at a later time.
Right, like the dryness, etc.
Well, I can tell you that the O is not how David wrote his O's. The N is not how he wrote his N's. The W is a little bit more pointed than his normal W's. I don't think he actually wrote the noun after examining his handwriting. I would love to bring in a real expert, because even though I studied graphology, I'm not an actual expert. And it doesn't. That part does not look like his handwriting.
All right.
And although Catherine is saying that the A doesn't look like his handwriting either for the Allah or Alan, whichever we all agree that it is. So, I don't know.
Speaking of that, let's go back into the chat. I'm sure I missed some people. I'm sorry if I missed you. Want to say hey to everybody who has just joined us in the live chat, or who has been joining us. Iconic Meekrat, I would normally be here. I would normally be more active, but I have a broken wing. Please take care of that broken wing. We need you to mend that, because we need everybody's help here. Tracy M, so happy to catch this. Great work, Greg. Thank you very much, and thanks to everybody who has been very positive and very, very, very helpful in looking at this from their own angle, coming to their own conclusions, and helping us try to understand what really happened here. Ellie says, I've read all 3 autopsy reports. I believe Rania was killed first, or Kamel, not David. David would have been killed last then. That makes sense to me. I can understand that. That was kind of my view. But the thing is, because Rania's and Kamel's blood aren't mixing, right? I mean, that was one of the things that we were told too. So I don't know if any of that stuff is true. I mean, I really had to discount a lot of things. Once these documents came out, you really have to don't think about anything else. You really want to start with those documents. You really want to start with what the documents say, and then then I think listening to other people, that has kind of helped me. But it was a big fault of listening to people first and then reading these documents. Like, wait a minute, I'm hearing 2 completely separate stories here. Obviously, I'm going to go with what the documents say over what somebody who just wants to believe David Crowley is guilty is going to say, especially because they're just not a credible source. Patty is saying once she died, then they ripped her arm off using their foot on her ribs for leverage. That's a very visual, descriptive, very disturbing image that I think it's another one of those things that have been overlooked in a lot of this. So
it was pretty much just brushed off and not really mentioned very much.
Right.
I thought that was kind of ridiculous, because if the dog had ripped her arm off, especially it being removed at the socket, there would be ragged marks on her shoulder where that appendage was ripped off. you would
Yep.
be able to see in the skin his teeth marks. On the bone, there would be gnawing marks where he chewed through the skin and the muscle and the tendons. Like, that's not an easy thing to do, you know, just rip somebody's arm off.
That's right. And we also have a few other people that have also joined us here. I want to say hi to Blue Moon. I want to say hi to Dana. Thanks for joining us as well. And there's someone else that I missed here before we move along and get into some of these
There's
slides.
Mel Carter also.
Mel Carter, that's it. Thank you.
And Tracy.
And Tracy M. Thank you all. Appreciate all of you for joining us. All right. Sorry for being so.
We have a great crowd.
Yeah,
We have
we did.
27 already.
27.
This is
Yep,
great.
that's right. And we are looking at the image right now. This will be slide number 4, and Sophia has circled a few things here. It kind of looks like maybe like a dog with a couple legs. Like this would be the head here, and then here's one leg, and here's the other leg, something like that. Maybe a camel. I don't know, something.
The reason why I picked this photo was because we've had people say that Paleo was alone in the house, and he was running around the bodies, he was barking at the window and everything. And everything that I circled is showing that these bookcases would have been knocked over by a rambunctious dog. Those items all along the bookcases would have been knocked over or broken. That blue tube was standing up when the police came into the house, and they had knocked it over. So even if he was running around the bodies and back and forth in front of the window, he would have knocked that blue tube over with his tail or unintentionally. And then the last thing is, you don't see footprints and you don't see snout marks on that picture window.
Right.
If he had been left alone for a long period of time, he would have been looking out of that window to try to bark at people or anything just to keep himself occupied, and you just don't see it there.
You know, when I was listening to the 911 calls, you get the idea that Paleo was like frantically attacking the window with like his paws and his snout. And then you look through the pictures and you find this picture, and it's like, well, you know, if he was like frantically attacking that window, all of this stuff would have been on the floor.
Oh,
I
yeah.
mean, it wouldn't be sitting here so pretty like this. It would have been knocked down. It would have been broken. The books would have been knocked all over. That blue tube wouldn't have been standing up when the police came in. You know, that I really think that's another thing we could add to our list, is how neat that whole area is for a dog that, you know, supposedly was just going to town, eating things and ruining things.
And how about that back door being ajar? What was to stop him from pushing that open further with his snout to exit that back door?
That's right.
Exactly. And my parents have a dog, and all the window panes of their back door, it's kind of like they're glass doors that you can open up, French doors. And it's a little dog, and you can see those bottom panes where she has put her nose up against the window to look out, and there's smudge marks and all kinds of marks from her putting her face against it, and you just don't see it in this house. Even that back window, the sliding glass door, like Ross, like you were saying, he could have just put his snout there or his paw to open it up. Dogs are very creative when they want to do something. So are cats. But you also have the dog food too, which I believe I included those photos. with this slide presentation, and those weren't dug into or scratched up or anything like that. He wasn't trying hard to escape the house. He wasn't trying hard to get the dog food. I'm just having a hard time believing the dog part of the story.
Yep, and speaking of that, actually, Mel Carter in the chat has said they couldn't kill the dog because it wouldn't fit into their narrative. They need him to blame for the eating of human limbs.
Or destroying the bodies and extra evidence.
They have Tracy M says, I have suggested Greg take this to a true crime genre channel with a large following, such as Johnny Lorden at Lorden Arts or Stephanie Harlow. They have awesome resources and have 300,000 plus viewers. I've never heard of them, but I'll definitely look into that and see. And Tracy, if you have any, if you can help me with that, I would definitely appreciate that. I'm sure that we all would. One of the biggest goals for us here is to reach as many people as possible with this case. Not to try to reach them to tell them that they should think this or they should think that. To try to reach them, because it seems like the more people that we reach, the more people end up having the same questions and end up, wondering the same things that we're all talking about here and coming to the same conclusions, that there's just no way that David Crowley could have done this if what we're seeing here is everything, and we're told that this is everything. Let's see. Marie says, I don't believe Palaio would do such a thing. Yeah, it's hard to believe that too. That he would. Sharon says something interesting that I know has been brought up a lot. I'm gonna go back one slide here, back to the animal drawing that Sophia has done, and Sharon says, the photo you are showing shows Kamel in the reflection. So
It does.
this is supposed to be her? I'm not so sure.
Wait for the...
Yeah, I'm not so sure, but that's just my view. I think this is where it would be her. The lower half is probably what they're saying. I think this is too close. It's too close to be her, but that's just my view. I don't really know. I think this is actually the rug that is folded over, that is pulled over, but we can discuss that too. But that has been a big thing. I remember this blue area. I'm going to circle this little blue area here. If you look at that, you're like, at first I was like, that looks like a blue face or something. Obviously that doesn't make any sense either. So it was like, well, the mind can play tricks with this blue area. It can also play tricks with what could be the rug pulled back. Possibly.
There was a picture of one of the back windows, like from outside, that I was going through one of your videos of the crime scene pictures one night, and I was so tired that I was insanely convinced that I was seeing a reflection in that window, so I screenshotted it, and then the next morning I went back and looked at it and couldn't figure out why I had taken said screenshot. When you get tired, you really find things that are not actually there. I think that's a sleep deprivation, what it does to the brain.
Yep. And if I can find it, let me see if I can find it. It is the one image that... I mean, if you look at that image compared to the reflection that we just saw, I can see what people are talking about.
Especially if you zoom in.
What happened to my computer? It used to be so fast. It used to be amazing.
The gremlins hacked in.
It's just gonna say that. Should be coming up here very soon. I know you're here. It was one of those. It was an image of the Christmas tree. I remember. It's probably further up actually now. But if you line that one up, so the image that we were just looking at was BCA 4915. So you can line that one up, BCA 4915. If you line it up, I think it's actually one of the first images. Sorry, everyone. The worst thing you want to do with live shows or radio or anything is to have dead air. Dead air that's why they call it dead air. But that's okay, because this is all for research purposes here. Okay, BCA 4464. So if you line up the previous image with BCA 4464, this is where you can see the lower half of Kamel. And so that's, it does kind of line up. It does line up with where that reflection is. I just think it's too far to match that reflection, but that's my own view on it.
You said BCA 4464, and what was the other one?
Let me go back.
The one where it's the front picture window and it's got the bookcases and the tube laying down. It's the reflection in that picture window.
Yeah, let me see what that one is. It's a little bit further down here. BCA 4464, and if you compare that one, did I miss it? Where the bookcase is? Bookcase.
And
To BCA 4915. 4915 is the one you want to compare. So 4915 to 4964. And there we go. I'm going to look in some of the comments here. There's a lot of good comments that we're overlooking, but we also want to get back into the topic at hand here.
oh, there it is. I'm pointing at your screen on YouTube, like you can totally see me. I'm pulling a Catherine right now. Sorry,
It's all
Catherine.
good. It's all good. 49115 is the original image there. So there you go. All right, so let's go back into these slides. Okay, and we're going to look at, in a few seconds here, you're going to see a slide that Sophia added, and we're going to find out why she chose to add this image here. And this image shows the living room floor. It shows most of the couch, and you can see the item 45 marker.
Oh, I was just, because the rug is pulled back, and if people were bleeding out on that rug, don't you think that it would kind of go through the fabric, kind of spread through it? And I just don't see any blood or decomp fluid. I guess maybe gravity just took it straight down to the basement instead of spreading through the fabric and the weave and the carpet padding in between.
Well, this is item 45 right here. That hole that will lead down to item 45. So all of that is a part of that. And there was no blood found on that item either. But I think the blood, where the bodies were I don't believe that they were really in that area, and maybe that's why we're not seeing any blood here, because the rug is pulled back. Now, if we were to look at where the bodies were, and that rug, that part of the rug was pulled back, what should we see there? Should we see a lot of blood? Should we see, a lot of stains? And those are just images that we don't have.
Hmm.
Greg, what is the number of this photo?
This one right here?
Mm-hmm.
I had cropped it out. That's why I told Catherine I would get it for her.
Oh,
I have to
okay.
scroll
Okay.
through the photos.
I was pretty confused as to why, if that blue blanket was on the bodies, why it was just thrown up onto the couch. I thought that was rather odd.
All of the blankets and everything. Yeah.
Like you would think that, I mean, that's evidence. There was blood and decomp on it, I think. So, I mean, that couldn't be given back to the family in that condition. Wouldn't it be bagged and tagged?
Should
Put
be.
with
That
all
is
the other evidence collected?
that is DSC 0431. That's what we're looking at here. DSC 0431. You're going to find that in the 464 photos from the Apple Valley Police Department. That's what we're looking at here. 0431. DSC 0431, sorry.
Thank you.
I pulled those up because I knew somebody would ask me about them. And I'm glad you did.
Good
Because,
thinking.
yeah, it's, a lot of things are, moved at this point, and why those blankets are up there. Now, looking at the blankets, though, this is blood, right? I see a little blood here, little blood here, blood here, blood here. So I don't know, and we don't know how far, from when the bodies were taken out. We don't know exactly when this image was taken. I would assume at the very end. At some point, you're going to see this Surface Pro item 45. At some point, they're going to put this on top of the kitchen island and take a photo of it.
I really, really wish we could have an investigator, like a detective or something, that has dealt with murder-suicide cases before. Have them just go through these pictures with us and explain, like, yeah, that's normal, yeah, that's okay, yeah, this is what we do, something. Because when Sophia pointed out how the gun was just set on that table behind the Christmas tree, I've been going back through all of them and zooming in and just going like in just little bit by little bit, and it's just crazy how much stuff is on the floor 1 minute and then thrown somewhere else the next.
Right. Like this lemur should be more where the Christmas tree was, and then
That lemur moved
yeah.
quite a bit.
Yeah, it did. The ornaments, how does a Christmas ornament get here when it should be on that Christmas tree? Doesn't any of this show signs of a stage scene? This might be a pin that looks like it was chewed up or twisted up. And then all of this hair. Is this real hair? Is this fake hair? Why is the lemur's hair, if that is the hair, the stuffing, why is this all mixed in here? It's just because at that point they moved the bodies, blah, 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 all that. But, I mean, you got a big sample of hair here, a big thing of hair here, another one here, and then another one here, and then, of course, another one down here. And that's just in this one image. There's a lot. That is a lot. Is that natural hair? Or are we looking at...
I've always wondered that because I
There's a lot
don't
of it.
see
That's a
that
lot.
being the lemur's hair unless the lemur was wearing a wig.
Right.
that lemur, I mean, to me at least, the lemur looks pretty intact aside from the white stuffing all over the place. But I've always wondered about all this black hair, because there's black and then like a lighter brownish of long pieces and then short brown hair. There's quite a bit of different, there's quite a variety of different hair looking things in these pictures.
Right.
And Camille did have beautiful brown highlights.
Mm-hmm.
And that black hair just doesn't make sense.
Well, I always wondered, wasn't there a box of hair dye or something in one of the bathroom trashes?
Yes.
Yes, there was. And that doesn't make sense either. If you're going to off yourself, why are you going to dye your hair? Especially if you're going to be shot in the head several times. There's not going to be anything there. I just never got that train of thought for the whole pack theory.
Yeah, I don't think I buy that theory.
I'm sorry, Ross, you kind of cut in and out for a second.
Sorry, I was just saying, yeah, I agree. I don't buy the whole pact thing at the current time. I would need to see some sort of evidence, beyond what was shown in the slopumentary.
Thank you. Yeah, I would have to agree. I mean, if there's actual proof of it, for instance, David and Camille discussing it in a video or a recording with their voices,
even something written that could be, proven written, not some shoddy,
not like a journal page that seems to float around under the guise of Camille's handwriting.
Right.
Yeah. I agree.
This
Actual proof.
cat is just off the man. Oh, I feel so bad every time I look at it. I miss a whole bunch of stuff. This is so incredible. All these people that are. Oh my gosh, this is so amazing. I don't mean to interrupt anybody. I'm sorry. This is great.
Yeah, the chat's always amazing.
Yeah, Sharon was pointing out that in this picture she says if you look at the carpet near the bottom, you will see something round and shiny. It's right below what looks like a scratch mark from fingers. And then
My eyes are not that good.
and Catherine had said on the blankets, yes, but those blankets were not tagged. Taken as evidence, however, the blood lacking from the rest of the house is interesting, to say the least.
DSC
They should have kept it those blankets.
Yeah, especially since you can see from the pictures that, they were touching the bodies.
Mm-hmm.
Patty said the family has to hound the cops to reopen the case.
Yeah.
And Zelva said, have you heard of the cold case cowboys? They reopen cases and don't stop until it's solved. They're retired detectives.
Nice. We need to contact them.
Jerome says, about the blood from the house, where's the rest of the blood? That's the question we've all been asking. And then Catherine said, looks like human and extensions. It's a mixture.
Interesting.
Referring to all the hair.
Okay.
And then Sharon had said Camille had dark brown and then some lighter highlights and a photo I saw. And then she said, oh my God, it makes sense if they were going to take off, if they were going on the run due to threats. And when I read that, it makes sense
Mhm.
why she would dye her hair. If they were receiving threats and they were scared, he had a go pack ready in the trunk of that car.
Yeah, he
And
did.
I always thought it was weird when Sidra went up to get the car, and David had said, well, you got to come back, you got to give me an hour to clean the car out. I always wondered if he said that because he had to move his go bag, his survival stuff, however, you want to call what was found in the trunk. I think maybe he had to move that stuff out of the car so that she could take that car. I always thought it was rather interesting. I know a few people that were in the military that once they got out, they kept a go pack, if you will, that had like water, their ammunitions for whatever guns they had with them, non-perishable food items, blankets, things like that. Just stuff basic necessities that you would need if you were to just jump in the car and leave at a moment's notice.
Mhm. We actually did that when we lived in Alaska. We kept extra things in the trunk of the car, especially during the winter. If a car ever broke down, we had flashlights, some granola bars, and stuff like that, blankets that we
Yeah,
kept
and it
in the.
seems like David and Kamel were very into like planning. Like they didn't seem like the type of people that just like ran out of stuff. Like you can see from the pictures of, I guess, their pantry,
Mhm.
where there's like all kinds of different like bulk amounts of like canned goods and water and food and things like that.
And that's not cheap.
No, it's not.
All the stuff in the basement, that's not cheap at all.
So in this picture you're zooming in on, I do kind of see something a little bit.
Okay, tell me where. If you can see my cursor, kind of guide me by the cursor. There might be a little lag on your guys' side, so give me a little time.
So you're going to want to go towards the right.
Okay, going toward the right.
Over,
Okay, you see where that white paper is on the darker brown?
This right here? Yeah, it's like I thought this was a pin, but it's like a L-shaped.
Mhm.
Okay.
And then there's like some scratch marks going down. I'm guessing maybe from the dog on the couch.
Okay.
She's saying that area, I think.
Yeah, it does kind of look like there's something shiny there, but I'm not sure if that's
If it's
his ring
this,
or not.
I'm gonna circle in
Oh,
here.
wait.
Go ahead.
No, more to the right.
It's more to the right of that thing your cursor was just on. I think that's a pen. Like maybe a
Close.
chewed up piece of the pen.
More to the right, Greg.
Okay.
Over.
Give it a few seconds for it to catch up on your end. I'm circling something.
There you go. Right there.
That thing.
Got something right there.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think
I
that's
can't quite
flesh.
tell what it is.
Kind of looks like flesh or something. But okay, I know what you're talking about here. It's two different pieces. It kind of makes me think it's some flesh or something. I don't know.
It kind of almost looks like a bullet fragment.
Yeah,
Like it
possible.
doesn't look round enough.
I can zoom in.
Sorry, what was that?
Can we get a zoom on that top right corner?
Yeah, let me try to zoom in. Not working with the best equipment here, but let me know if you want me to zoom in a little more. So I'm focusing where that area that I've been circling, whatever this thing is here. So if you want me to zoom in more, let me know.
I just thought it would be shinier if it was a ring. What is
Well,
that?
the whole ring thing, while we're on that too, is okay, if it's over here where it was found, if they put the gun closest to where David was on that Christmas tree, if it was David's, wouldn't they put his ring over there? Why is this ring found next to the teacup or to the teapot? Wouldn't that show that it's Kamel's ring?
So I stayed up all night till like
Uh-oh.
2:30. Okay, so I actually wrote down. I do not know if it's in this notebook or another one. The ring is there in the pictures by the teapot on
Yes,
that little glass
in
table.
in one of them, but
Yes,
there's another
and then
one.
it's gone.
Right. I think it's the other way around.
gone.
Right. Well, I think it wasn't there at first, and then they put it there. The ring had to have been on the carpet, right? It had to have started on the carpet.
See, that's what I thought. I thought maybe, because of the gun was on the carpet and they picked that up, and then the knife was on the carpet, so they picked that up. So I thought maybe, they were like, oh, this is small, let's not lose this, and they put it on the little glass table. But that's like the one picture you can see it's there, and then it's not.
Now
And you
see
can
it.
go
Now
back
you
between all the other between the DCS photos and the BCA photos, and it disappears. You can't find it. And I really wish I knew more about all these, the whole police report and everything. I've been trying to go through it. It's a lot of stuff I don't understand, but
It's tedious. It's very tedious.
oh yes, I thought maybe if it was on the floor, they would have documented that yes, we found this here at this location, and I picked it up and I put it on this table, and then so and so moved it. But I haven't been able to find anything like that yet.
Well, the problem is
Good
that
luck.
yeah, we got a lot of problems with that ring because obviously, if it was David's, it would be on his left hand, right? And we've seen
Right.
it. We've seen the image of his left hand, and there's no ring there. If it was Kamel's, both of her hands are missing. She doesn't have any
It
hands.
looks too big. It looks like David's ring. If you go back through the photos of David, where it shows his ring, I think that's his band
Okay.
on that glass table.
Okay, I really need somebody to help us kind of maybe they can post that in the group if you guys have that image of his ring, please post that in the group. And if you have the image of Kamel's, because obviously there is an engagement ring and there is a wedding ring for her too, so that's why I wondered if maybe that is her
Has
wedding
anybody
band.
talked to Sidra about it? Did Sidra say anything about the ring?
She said that the engagement ring was in the master bedroom.
Sharon asked, do the reports say where it was found?
No, they don't mention.
I have not read anything in the reports about the rings.
They're not even mentioned.
I think the only time I've ever heard anything about the rings was from Sidra.
Paulette said it would not fit David's mummified hand. It would slip right off. That's a great point.
Interesting.
Yes, she's absolutely
Maybe
right.
they may... Okay, so going with the theory that somebody placed him like that, maybe they set the ring there on the coffee table, or maybe as they were placing him, it fell off onto the carpet, and some detective or something was like, oh, look, a ring. Let's put it here on this table. Is that a possibility?
Well, I mean, it's there. We know that there's a ring
Oh,
there.
there it is.
Yeah, I mean, it's there. It's clearly there in one picture.
And then they pick it up and move it for a different photo? Okay, while we're looking at this photo,
Mm-hmm.
It's extremely clean
There we go.
and no blood splatter.
What
Right.
about what's
Yeah.
this right here? I'm gonna circle in. You guys, it'll take a few seconds for you to see, but I'm gonna circle in on 2 areas here. Aside from that, I'm gonna circle in on a 3rd area right here. And again, just give it a second for you that are on the call. You won't see it for a few seconds. Then I'm gonna circle in a 4th area that I think is actually might be from the hardwood floor. But aside from that, yeah, I mean, there's no blood there. There's blood on this hardwood floor, but it's a little bit to the south. A little bit over here. That's where some of the blood starts. But this is closest to Kamel. Yet her hands are missing. Her hands are gone. So where
And you
this
have,
ring comes from. Good.
well, let's do the math. Kamel has 3 bullets connected to her because of her DNA. You have Ronnie and her DNA on 1 bullet. And then you have David with, well, at least 1 gunshot, but we haven't found that bullet. So that tea set and that glass table should have high velocity blood splatter.
And there's none.
Theoretically.
Yeah, if they were killed there in that small area, where is it?
Well, maybe Paleo
So what
wanted to
would-
play with the teapot and moved it here too. Go ahead, Ross.
There you go.
Right. I was just going to say, so what would the main points of staging be? You know, placement of the bodies and the writing on the wall. That would be 2 of the main ones, right?
Mm-hmm. That's right.
David's placement and how his arms are.
That for sure.
Hmm. And how the
note-
girls just look like they were just dumped there.
Yep.
The way their clothes were, the way David and Ranny's clothes were, it looks like they were like dragged. And then the way the blanket was over David but under Kamel, that was weird.
Catherine
Yeah,
is
yeah.
saying that she wants a close up.
Of which
Catherine,
part?
what exactly do you need a close up of so I can see if Greg can get it for us?
I mean, how would the carpet even move like that? You know, I can't even think of a way. Pulling it up over yourself and then doing yourself in. You know, it just doesn't seem to make much sense.
Well, if he
Sorry, you go ahead.
go ahead. No, it's okay, Sophia. Go ahead.
Well, we also have another photo of the blue blanket Greg has in this series, where there's like a jaw piece on the blue blanket. But if you look at the edge of it, you got the skull piece underneath it. And I was like, how in the hell did that happen? Because the blanket is pulled straight. So, I mean, Paleo might be talented, but he's not that talented.
Right.
Okay.
I'm really, really leaning more towards the fact that Paleo was purposely left alive to just completely just move everything, just so the police had something to fall back on. You know,
That really makes
instead of
sense.
believing there's like killers loose to do this again, Paleo was left alive so they could go, oh, see, David, you know, even though he was just crazy and he just snapped, you know, he couldn't bring himself to kill his dog. He just couldn't do it. You know, he tried, he missed, and was just like, whatever, and blew his own brains out. You know?
Yeah, I don't know if I buy the whole he shot at the dog and missed theory either. You know, like
That's ridiculous.
maybe someone shot at the dog and missed, but I can't work that one out for the life of me.
Okay, you're not gonna miss. I mean, even the worst shot is not gonna miss that dog.
Especially at close range, if you are good enough to shoot 3 people, you're not going to miss a dog.
Yeah.
Well, he could have conned Paleo also.
Well, I mean,
If he was wanting to kill him, he could have conned him into coming over, whether it was with a treat or anything.
Right.
With Paleo being left alive, Paleo has ample time to run around and eat things and, you know, move things, and
He's a big part of this stage scene, right? I mean,
Yeah.
he's the biggest
yeah.
part.
Greg,
He
can you
should have
go
been
back
swabbed.
to the top of the Bose speaker, please?
Okay. Now, I first thought
Sorry
that
for
that was
interrupting
that was blood on there, but I think it is a light. This orange thing might be a light, a reflection of a light, or something like that. But I'll keep it there. Now, this speaker, the power had gone out, and that's why there was no music blaring. The laptop was on, so it was on a playlist that was set to loop, but they forgot to charge this Bluetooth speaker here. Obviously, somebody who didn't know about this speaker in the house. Not something that David would probably do, but whatever.
Now look at that. The
I don't
white
think that's blood.
trim for that printout right there, very clean.
Right.
yeah, there'd be a lot of it would be high velocity if
Now, would it
if they
still
were
be
shot.
would it still be high if they're shot on the ground? Let's say everybody is
Okay.
kneeling on the ground. There's a struggle. Would the velocity of the blood spatter still be high, or at that point, would it be low to medium?
High means high speed.
High speed. Okay. Not high,
Yeah.
like
Like
not
it's
like
coming out
height.
of your body really fast.
Gotcha.
Like okay, so like if somebody took a lead pipe and was bashing you over the head, the blood is flying off of the pipe as it connects with the body, and as that person pulls back to strike again. And then with like a gunshot, they, like, because of how fast the bullet is moving and how fast the blood is flying out of you, it from what I understand, I'm not an expert on this, but from what I understand, the shape of how the blood falls is how they tell whether it's high or medium or low velocity.
Greg, I'm going to take screenshots
Okay.
of what the blood should look like from a gunshot wound for high speed, and then I'll show you
yeah.
medium speed and slow.
Okay.
Catherine said it's called cast off.
Cast off. Okay.
When, like
Right.
when you've got a lead pipe and you're bashing into somebody, as you're pulling back to go to swing again, what flies off the lead pipe is cast off.
We're sailing. Okay.
So was the drum set was in the basement, correct? So I mean, I know David used to play music in the basement, so I'm still thinking maybe the shots were in the basement or something like that, just out of the sheer volume of the pistol shots. You know what I mean? I don't know if that would have dampened the volume.
I don't know. That I do not know.
I think a lot of people think I and quite a few other people believe that Paleo was possibly kept in the basement because it was soundproofed.
Right.
Like
Yeah, I
if
could see
you look at where the dog poop is in the basement, it's mostly by the door, which if Paleo's in the basement and he knows his family's upstairs or, somewhere in that house, he's, in my opinion, he's going to be close by that door to be, to get out as soon as it's opened.
For sure. Well, I got to jet, guys. Been a good time. I'm gonna be in the chat room there, so I'll
Nice, Ross.
stay locked in. But,
Thanks, brother.
Good discussion, and hope you all have a good evening.
All right, man.
Thank you
too.
for joining us.
Yeah.
Thanks,
for
guys.
sure.
I'll be back. Have a good one.
You too, man.
You too.
You too.
Yeah, Ross was a fan of the project. He donated. He helped fund that whole project, and everybody who helped pitch in back in 2012, I think it was. They were all promised certain things, and they were very hopeful. And there was a lot of people that were looking forward to David Crowley taking that 2012 trailer and turning it into a film, doing something very powerful with it. And what I'm trying to find now, one of the things in the chat, I'm probably missing a lot of good stuff in the chat again. There were lights at the bottom here. We're looking at, of course let's see what image this was before. BCA 4429, looking at image BCA 4429, you can see these Christmas light, or you can see a neon light. Let me just kind of zoom in on that a little bit. You could clearly see that neon light. Of course, if you look at the teapot, there's no ring there right there. So, and you can see, I'm going to circle in this area. That is David's foot right there. That's his big toe, and probably his right foot right there.
And
Now,
you can see there's no ring.
And you can see there's no ring on that table. And this is what's behind that table. This is the pyramid image. This is an image of a pyramid. And we know that some of the things that they said about David, or about David's wife, and having this rapture thing, and there was some Egyptian voice that was speaking to them, and the whatever this voice was wanted Kamel to come with them. Kamel to come to her because she couldn't come to them. It's this weird, creepy voice. I had it in my book and I kind of left it out. I'm not really sure what to do with it, but it is a very interesting point of this whole case, and I do believe that whatever this image is of this, it's clearly a pyramid. It's clearly the three. You can see 1, 2, 3 there, but that was one of the big things that got me into some of the spiritual stuff. But I think that this image was early on, and because you can clearly see that the bodies are still there, that once the bodies are moved, then that ring shows up here on that table. But getting back just for 1 second, I just want to clear this up about the neon light that we're seeing here in the corner. For you on the call, you'll see it there in a couple of seconds. If you look over here to the lights, to this light fixture here, you can see something that is plugged in. So what I thought is that this is where those lights were plugged in, and you can see that at some point, I mean, why would the lights be around here on the edge of this couch, right? But I mean, to me, this kind of showed me proof that maybe the couch was moved at some point and then put back. It doesn't explain why this green light is still on, but I do believe that at some point this couch was actually moved, and then that's when all of this was written nicely, neatly, properly, and that's why you don't see any blood on this clock here too. All part of staging that crime scene, I do believe, was to move this couch out. I don't believe this couch was like that and somebody stepped on the couch. But looking at the Christmas light here, I do believe that it's some of the, and there in other photos there's other Christmas lights, and I think that at some point some of the Christmas lights might have dropped down when they moved the couch and they did not move it back properly. But I'd be curious to hear what people's view is on this green light that was brought up by one of the people in the chat room.
And Greg, I sent those screenshots to you of the different velocities, the high, the medium, and the low.
Mm-hmm.
Just so you can get an idea
Okay.
of what we were talking about in regards to the house and the type of blood splatter that we see. And a lot of it has to be medium velocity. The high is very prevalent. You would be able to spot it very quickly.
Okay. Now
And
you
it
had
could be there in the couch
you
if
never
we had
know.
better photos of the couch.
You had included a drawing, one of the drawings of the living
Yes.
room. What was the purpose of this one?
Okay, that purpose, along with the screenshots of from the reports, was this one.
Mhm.
I'm not exactly sure why I put that one in there.
Maybe just to give the layout where people can
And
maybe see.
Yes, the reason I had done the one of the sketch where the bodies were found and then the screenshot of the reports was to focus on item 57 as part of the staging of the crime scene,
Okay,
or maybe
I got
staging of the
that
crime
one.
scene after the fact.
Okay, I got that one coming up later, so we'll definitely cover that one. The
Okay.
next one here, I'm gonna move on to the next one for now, and I'm gonna see. Okay, so that was Patty. I want to say hi to everybody else who has joined us. We have some more people that have joined us inside the cave. Zalva Figgy has joined us, and if I missed anybody else, sorry about that. Some really great chats going on there, and I'm definitely gonna have to go back and read as many of those as I possibly can.
Yeah, the live chat is really incredible tonight again. We always have great live chat.
I know, right?
Thank you, everybody.
Okay, so tell us about this image.
One sec, I was letting the cat out.
Okay. So we're looking at pretty much a full view of the couches, the living room floor here, and
That one, showing the, I mean, there should be more decomp, there should be more blood in that carpet, and I see staining, possibly from Kamel. There should be staining from David too, but you're just not seeing it. Maybe it's just the angle of the The photo?
Yeah,
I tried to get the best photo that I could, but
well, I mean, this is also after a lot of things are moved, and we don't know how much of the
yeah,
blood or decomp would be on these blankets. Maybe somebody can help us with that. I mean, you can clearly see blood on this blue blanket here, and then blood seeping through, so you can see what side of the blue blanket was on. There's also a little book here in the corner. So it's like, well, was somebody reading something? What's up with that? And then, of course, you have the Surface Pro, this laptop that, according to the sister Sidra, she's stated that Kamel and Rania were watching something on this on Netflix, by the way, which is a interesting tie-in to this whole thing. Kamel and Rania are watching something on Netflix. David comes up from the basement and shoots them in the back of the head. That's what she told me. That's what she first told me. Obviously, she doesn't know that. She can't prove that. Somebody told her that. I don't know why she believed it.
So I always had a problem with that, because where would they have to have been sitting for him to come up behind them from the basement to shoot them in the back of the head? Like,
not here.
You know,
here.
if he came up from the basement and they were sitting on the couch together,
they would see him.
One of them would have been way farther apart, because, I mean, he doesn't have two guns in his hand shooting them both at the same time. He has one gun, and Kamel's got 3 shots to the head, Randy's got 1. So in any scenario, he's got to shoot one person first, and that other person has a chance to jump away and react to, oh my God, you've got a gun, what the hell are you doing? You know? So if he surprised them like that, how fast would he actually have had to pop those shots off to get them to fall together? And if they didn't fall together, where's the pattern in the floor or the couch where the bodies fell and then he moved them where the police found them?
Right.
There's no, maybe it's just because I'm not trained to see it, but I'm not seeing in these photos where on the couch, or, were they sitting in the recliner and maybe he shot Rani and that's her blood spot there on the recliner, and then Kamel jumped up and he's like, oh, okay, now you're next, pops 3 off, and then she falls. Like, I'm having such a hard time trying to tie in how David did this, because there's so much that goes into, well, if they were sitting on the couch and he came up and surprised them, he would have either had to pop those shots off really, 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 really fast, or, like, he somehow shot one and then held the other one right there to shoot the other one. But we would see the spray pattern of it, right? And I don't see that. I don't see a spray pattern from 4 gunshots going off pretty much one right after the other.
Nope.
can you zoom into the corner of the couch where Kamel supposedly was, please?
Let me see if I can do that. If I can't do that here in the PowerPoint, I will, let me grab what okay, so this is, let me see what BCA number this is, and I'll find the original. BCA 5106. 5106, okay. So let's go to 5106. a second here. Maybe I need to update. Okay, we're going to look at BCA
Catherine-
5106. Go ahead.
Catherine was pointing out that there is surprisingly lack of blood in that corner where her head was supposedly at.
And where her arm was, right? Or it was kind of pulled over above her head. Okay, 5106. Let's look at this one. Let's zoom in here. I'll let you be my conscience and you'll be my guide here. There's a little monkey. I don't know if you guys can see that there, but a nice little toy monkey, whatever that is. Never was able to figure out what this red ruby looking thing was, but go ahead and guide me around here and just let me know if I should go left, right, and I will adjust accordingly.
Over
Oh,
to
you
the
probably
right.
want me to go right. Okay, yeah, you want me to go where Kamel. Item 44, that's one of the bullets that I was tied to Kamel, right? So this is where she was. Where is the blood, is what they're saying?
No, to the right,
To the right?
the other
More to the
corner.
right?
Not this corner, the other corner.
To the left.
There you go.
Okay. To where the Surface Pro is? Okay.
The opposite of the Surface Pro.
Opposite. Okay, I'm going to go back.
And there's,
Sorry.
there's that
44
book
is-
under the couch where it looks like somebody was reading.
Okay. You're going to see it go to the left, but then I'm going to come back to the right on your guys' side. And we're going to stay focused here on item 44. Don't worry about it
No
going
blood.
to the left there. Yep. It'll move
No
back.
tissue. No brain matter.
Lots of hair.
Nothing. See, over here, that's decomp from Kamel leading up to that corner, but you don't see blood. Wow. Where is it?
Alright, I'm going to stay here so everybody can catch up. And we'll see that there's a book, lots of hair, no blood. Now, of course, if they were laid on the blue blanket, and so Kamel's right arm is supposed to be draped up somewhere in this area, and then her left arm is somewhere underneath her stomach. Both hands missing. No blood. What about this little thing right here? Maybe on the book. But because of that blanket, let's go look at that, which you can see blood on the blanket.
It would have. I'm typing and thinking. It would have seeped through the blankets.
And there's not that much
It would
on
have
the
seeped
blanket.
through.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, for 3 bodies, you would expect a lot more. I mean, those blankets would have been beyond disgusting. I mean, they are disgusting, but they would have been like saturated, and it's just not there. This is. I expect.
Do we have any photos of the like both full sides of these blankets or no?
Like where they were found?
No. I mean like them like hung up like on something so it's completely laid out so you can see all of it.
Only on the ground, and you can't see all of it.
Greg,
I
what
would have
is
thought
that
that would have
underneath?
been something the police would have wanted.
Hmm.
What is that tannish brown thing underneath the couch?
That's the
Like
by the book.
could that be like the wooden part of the couch?
Yeah,
Like a
Like a leg.
correct. Yeah, it's
leg. Thank you.
it's a sectional couch. You can also see
Okay.
there's a lot of the shawl You can see that. You can see how bloody that shawl is in the lower left-hand corner. And then it looks like even in the furthest right-hand lower side, some of that shawl is also over there too. So, I don't know why.
Okay. It's just I'm going to absorb all of the blood that's in your head, though. And if she was laying there for any point of time after she was shot, it would have soaked completely through the blankets. It would have soaked through the shawl. There's just nothing there.
Why is the shawl all ripped up? But, and then there's this one little piece of shawl over here next to Kamel.
I don't know. Could the dog have done it?
That would be the logical thing, right? That the dog ripped it all up.
I mean, if it had been around her neck, I could see maybe a dog ripping it up.
And this might have just been there. I don't know.
They were asking about something around this area that
Okay.
you're in right now.
Okay, let me know which
Is she talking about
area.
the book?
I'm sorry?
Paulette and Patty are asking about something sticking out. It's like a light brown colored thing
Yeah,
over
yeah.
by the couch. And there's a book under the couch. And there's something like on the couch.
There's a book on the couch, actually, kind of in the cushion of the couch, and there's a white substance.
They're asking you to stay still in that corner area by 44.
Okay, I'm gonna stay on 44.
They're trying to look at something.
Okay,
If you can zoom in a little bit,
sure.
they're trying to look at something.
Okay, I'm gonna zoom in at 44. I'm gonna keep 44 center, and you just tell me to go up, down, left, or right. I'm looking at what I'm looking at, and I'm also gonna follow on what people in the YouTube are looking at, so I can stay focused. Okay.
They say zoom in some more for that corner that we were just talking about, where 44 is.
Okay.
Yeah, what? That's not part of the couch. What is that?
Okay, I'm gonna stay right here. Okay,
It's
I'm gonna
almost
zoom
like
in.
wood or something.
If you're talking about what's to the right of that book, that is part of the sectional couch. An old school
What book?
floppy disk. Okay. Let's
I'm
see.
sorry.
It's okay.
I didn't never caught the book.
No,
Is that what's sticking out from underneath the couch?
The book is, there's a book underneath the couch, and to the right of the book is part of the sectional couch. That's the stool, I guess, the bottom.
Can you circle it, please?
Sure.
Where the book is, or
Yeah, so here's the book. Here's one of the books. There's two books. There's a book on the living room floor, and there's a book on the couch as well. And I'm going to put my pointer right here to where I think blood might be on that book. And it's very hard to tell. And
where's the book? Okay. That's what we
That's
were
the book.
talking
Mhm.
about right there. I wonder what
The
book
book.
that was. And now they're saying, okay, Patty, why are you losing it?
don't lose it. Not yet.
No, I find myself, I was kind of chuckling listening to the video with Catherine, where she was like, I'm pointing at my screen. I do that a lot when I'm listening to these videos. Like, I'll be pointing at something and then realize that, it's not live or anything. It's just me by myself watching this video.
It's Patty.
okay.
Look at the marker number 44. It's that brownish, light brown thing sticking out from underneath the couch right there in the corner. Greg, can you go back down, please?
Yes,
That's a book sticking out from underneath the couch.
I'll circle it.
So what you guys were saying was a tongue depressor, that's actually a book.
It's a book. More
Now
of a-
they're saying that they don't think it's a book.
And then
Let's see.
on the couch in between the cushions, that's a book as well, right?
Correct. Correct.
Okay.
That's a book right there. And then I'm going to go to the screen right. No. Okay, so yeah, so there's another book here. In the cushion. So somebody was there. Somebody was sitting there. I mean, it's not too often that you're just going to leave a book there. This could be another sign of a scene that was interrupted. Because I'll tell you what, you know, I read books and I mean, maybe it's just like a reflex where something crazy happens and you're reading the book and you slide it in there. I don't know. I don't know what type of book this is either. Maybe they're trying to hide the book from somebody. I don't know. But it's not normal for this book to be here either. And this is one thing that I'm not going to blame that dog for putting the book here.
My kids get a hold of my books, and it drives me nuts because they'll pull the bookmarks out. Like, use my tape. So I always try
That's great.
to keep my book like put up, like either on a bookshelf or on like a coffee table or something, like, you know, out of the way of them. Because if they get a hold of my books, I find them under the couch, I find them in the couch, I find them in the basement, I find them all over. They just take the bookmarks out, and just, I don't even know what their train of thought is with it. They just drop it in random place.
Well, we have a 3-year-old in our household, and there's books scattered everywhere by the end of the night. And
Yep.
we have to pick them up or we're stepping all over them.
Yep.
And they go underneath the couch, they're in the couch, they're underneath the Christmas tree. And that's also an explanation for why the ornament could be, or several ornaments could have been off the Christmas tree. It could have been Ronnie, it could have been the dog just walking by it and wiggling their tail and knocked it off. I've knocked ornaments
true.
off just going over to the window.
I always knock them off when I'm vacuuming up all the pine needles around the tree.
Mhm.
I always knock them off, and it's crazy how touchy they are.
Yeah.
You know, so I mean, given the fact that Paleo was supposedly jumping at that window, I mean, we may not have knocked things off the bookcases, but I would totally agree that maybe he knocked those off the Christmas tree. That would explain why they're everywhere in the living room.
They're suggesting that the books possibly could be Ronnie's. I wish we knew what kind of books they were. That would have been very interesting.
Now, would that be something they would have written in the police report?
Mm-mm. Patty just said it was a porno mag. Are you there, Greg?
Yeah,
Did we
I'm here.
drop?
Can you hear me?
Oh, yes, I can hear you.
Okay.
Sharon
Sharon's
just said
asking. Yeah,
they
go ahead.
did decorate, but where were the gifts? This has always been, I think, a big part of proof that he was alive after Christmas, because the garbage can was empty. There
Mhm.
was no wrapping paper, like inside the house, like torn up, you know. There were no like wrapped presents or anything like that. So that would say to me that they had already celebrated Christmas
Correct.
and then were just kind of hanging out, enjoying the vacation before, you know, the day-to-day life started back up, you know, school and work and everything.
Yeah, there's proof of that in the kitchen garbage can, where you can clearly see.
The envelope, right?
And there's an
And
ornament
some
in
wrapping
there.
paper.
There's some eggnog in there too. So
I would have loved to have been able to see the expiration date on that eggnog.
Nova says, okay, Greg, if the couch is moved, what's your thoughts as to more than one person doing it? Because the rug goes right under the couch.
if the couch was moved, I mean, it's a sectional couch, first of all. David could have moved it, right? And he could have done that, but I mean, it sounds like the person is asking is if it's a two-man job, a two-person job.
I think that's what they'd be getting at, is that more than one person would have had to be involved to move that couch away from the wall.
Yeah. I mean, that's possible. I mean, I don't know why. I don't understand why you would move it, first of all. And then I don't know.
Maybe to write on the wall.
To write on the wall and then move it back is a staged scene, whether it's David or whether it's somebody else, right? I mean, if David snaps, I mean, looking at this crime scene, I don't see any evidence of anybody snapping. I don't see it. I don't care who they want to blame this on. They want to blame it on both of them, whatever. Everything is calculated. Everything has purpose. Everything has meaning. Almost, and that's what really stuck out to a lot of people. It's just like you look at these crime scene photos, and it looks staged for so many reasons. Everything looks like it is purposely there, where you can purposely see it, and then somebody had brought up I think it was Ross who kind of brought it up. It's like you walk into this house, the stage is set for the first responders to believe that this is a double murder suicide. How do we get there without that first 911 call? If the 911 call had just been call in proc now, would it still be the same? Because if you compare those two calls, one looks staged and the other doesn't. However you want to look at it, you know, there's just too much guessing, and that guessing continues on for the whole investigation. The whole time they're guessing. Go ahead.
If you look in the emails between Detective Bone and a couple other people, he specifically says now I don't know if he has to give them an idea of what they're looking at or what, but he specifically says in his emails, this is a murder-suicide scene. Like I don't know if he specifically has to say that, but I always wondered if they hadn't specifically pointed out to the lab techs or other detectives, you know, this is a murder-suicide, would one of them have pointed out, well, this doesn't go with a murder-suicide?
Right.
Well, if you walk into that scene, how did they not say, oh, this is a hate crime? They immediately went to murder-suicide. And I really don't understand that, unless they literally took what Judy said in her 911 call.
which they really shouldn't have taken her word for it, given the fact that she didn't even know their address.
Yeah.
So clearly
She didn't even
wasn't
know them.
listening. Yeah.
Well, it just depends on which guy you're listening to. Because there's some times where she says that she allowed her granddaughter to play over there, and David showed her the new furniture. And then there's other times where she says that she didn't even know them. It's like the story is continuously changing. It's fluid.
Yeah, in the debate with Greg, that made me so upset. I couldn't listen to it fully.
It's like a rewrite. It's just like a rewrite.
Because I was so angry.
Right.
Because she says something, and then Greg says, okay, so wait, let me clarify this. And he says the exact same question, and she'll answer it a different way. And then they'll start going and talking, and then he'll ask the question, and she'll answer. It's a question she's already answered. She'll answer it a different way, and it contradicts what she had already said. So I got so mad the first couple of times I was watching it. I just had to shut it off.
Thank you, because that's exactly how I felt. I was like, I am too sober to listen to this right now.
I was sitting on my couch, and like I listened to it with a pair of headphones because I don't want my kids listening, and I get so upset hearing her voice, because now if you're being honest, if you're telling the truth, it doesn't change. There might be a slight variation in, like, you say roughly around 12, and then later on say roughly around 12-ish, or 12:30, or shortly before 12. But your story is basically the same as to, it's centered around a fact. With Judy, it's like, well, yeah, he saw the gun on the floor. Colin actually saw the gun on the floor. Well, yeah, I think he said that. I think that's what he said.
Yeah, she's asked if she saw it, and she continually says that Colin saw it, not her. It's like, wait a minute, okay, that wasn't the question. She asked if you saw it, not Colin. It's just like, oh God, let's just get the story straight.
Her saying that he was acting weird because he had a mohawk. If you look at his videos, the mohawk thing, and photos, who cares? It's hair. It grows back. Sometimes, with David, you could clearly see a pattern in, I don't know if it was months or years in between, but at several different times throughout different years, he has a mohawk. And then he's got longer hair, and then it's a mohawk again. So that I don't see as strange. But then she said that the grandkids were over there playing or something, and there was like some guns or something going on. And it ended up not even being her that went over there, it was her daughter. And she was just reiterating the story.
Yeah, it was during the BX sale. And David was showing off a gun or pretending that it was a guitar while wearing a gas mask. They were goofing off, probably listening to music during the sale. And her daughter supposedly drove by and called Judy and was saying that she didn't want the kids going over to David's anymore to play with Ranny because David was acting suspicious or whatever. And then suddenly the police were called out to David's house, where they in turn bought some of the things that were sold at the BX sale. So I think that kind of backfired.
I got a chuckle out of that one.
Hmm?
I got a chuckle out of that one. They called the cops, and the cops ended up contributing to the yard sale.
Yeah. And the thing is these cops actually go into the house, and they needed somebody to identify David and Camille. They had no idea who this person was, and they supposedly worked with him on a project for the trailer for the Gray State, and then they were over there again during the BX sale to buy items, but they had no idea who he was. I'm just not buying that at all either.
Nope. Just looking at some of the other images, and then I want to get back to our screenshots here. Okay. Let's look at this one. This looks like item 14. So this is the hardwood floor. And this is image number BCA 4831. BCA 4831 is what we're looking at right now. And Sophia, can you explain why you wanted to make sure to include this one in there?
Well, several people had mentioned that these footprints, handprints, kindergarten artwork was part of the staging. And so that's why I included it.
Okay. And the next one with the number 15. This is before they put that blue, green, gaubish, whatever it is, on there. And I mean, there's hair here too. There's hair everywhere. Was there another reason why you put this one in there too? Let me see if it's gonna. Okay, so now you're probably seeing it right now. I mean, what sticks out to me in this one is this little wet spot here. What is it? This is from the investigators. I mean, there shouldn't be any wet spots here unless it's something that they put there.
It's extremely shiny. But if they sprayed it already, shouldn't it be black?
Well, this little
Did
wet
they-
spot, this is like a water puddle, what I'm focusing on here. You might not
okay,
see it
okay.
yet. It'll probably come up for you in a few seconds here. But it's a water puddle there. But item 15 is what we're going to focus on here. It looks like a footprint.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the wet
I think
spot.
it's a footprint too. Go ahead.
I don't know. Could it be off of snow from the officers?
That's what I always thought, Sophia. I thought it was like just snow dripping off and then melting from them coming in and out.
Yeah. That could be because there were 2 first responders that had to clear this house, so they had to clear that scene. So we don't know what they stepped over. You know, we don't know exactly what they did, but that was the first thing that they had to do. Once they got that dog out, they had to clear this scene. Now, it's very important. They weren't taking photos at that point, though. So all that we're looking at is the photos and how some things are dancing around inside of these photos. But this hair that we're seeing here, this is real hair. And there's some interesting things here, but
It wasn't attached.
I mean,
Okay, all feet were attached, Sharon. All feet were attached to the victims.
yes. Good point.
Could this have been made when they were bringing David in?
If they were carrying him like over a shoulder and set him down for a second to maybe get a better grip on him?
Can this image tell us?
I don't know how it would work. To me, this looks like the way, like if it's not an actual footprint, somebody did a really great job, at least with this one. I don't know about that other one. It don't look right to me. But this number 15 looks like it matches up with the other photo where you can see David's toes. like you can see his toes sticking up at the bottom of the picture where it's
Right. Right.
it looks to me like that foot matches with this print right here.
Now,
Just based on
Now-
how far apart the first toe and the big toe are.
correct. I would totally agree with that. Go ahead, Sophia.
And we have to remember that in the autopsy, it talks about his toenails being clean, his feet being clean, that there wasn't blood on his feet or toe, and that there weren't blood underneath his toenails either, or on top. So if he had that much blood to leave a footprint, he should have had something, dried blood between his toenails, or
But there's not much of
And
a footprint here, right? There's not that much that we're seeing here. It isn't like this is the whole foot. This is just the very top of that foot. And my biggest question with this is, can this image help us see how old this blood is? Weeks, days.
well,
Because that would
I
really
can't
help.
tell
That
from-
would really help. That would, I think, would help us kind of narrow down the timeline. This blood that we're looking at here, how old would this blood have to be? What is the range? Or is that, I mean, is it just just another rabbit hole? Because I don't want to go down rabbit holes. We have too many facts, too many, a lot of good things here. So
I don't know. I mean, do they wet it down to take samples? Like with distilled water or something? And maybe that's why it looks so shiny?
I
Or
want to
would
ask
that ruin?
Catherine. I know you're in the chat room right now. Looking at this image here, how old do you think this blood is? Because I know Catherine is one who thinks that the bodies were only there for 10 days. And there's a lot of people. She's not the only one. There's a lot of good people that also think that too. And I'm open to that. Obviously, I'm going to start with what the investigators say. They say 3 weeks. Okay, I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt. Is this 3 weeks of blood that I'm looking at here? That's the question that I'd want to ask.
3
everyone.
weeks, it would be extremely brown, almost like rusty, a rust brown kind of color, very oxidized. It wouldn't
Catherine
be
said
bright
that
red.
you can tell the age of blood. If it was fresh, though, if the blood was fresh, it would be insanely red.
Hmm.
The longer it sits, the longer it sits and dries, the more brownish instead of red it becomes.
There might be some buffering. We're gonna hold off a little bit. I want to make sure that the buffering stops. So let me know if it's buffering on your side too. Okay, it sounds like it's really buffering for people. Yeah, for me it was for a second there too. So let's.
Paulette's trying to get your attention, Greg.
I'm here, Paulette. It is buffering. Why is it buffering like that?
A mono black, I think, is what they sprayed on it to turn the footprint black.
Right.
She says that it's buffering too much.
Dana says can't hear anymore. I think we all just kind of went quiet to let you guys catch up.
Well, I'm looking at the.
Yeah.
Is it? Let me see if I can access the stream. What it shows right now. Yeah, it does kind of show that it's... Okay. Let's take a look.
Paulette's still trying to get your attention, Greg.
I'm here. I'm here. Okay, it looks like the health is back, so let me know if you guys can see this here. It's still recording. 20 watching.
It
I
says
mean,
that it
yeah.
says that it's still buffering and they can't hear us.
Okay. All right, we'll hold on here. Let's see what's going on. I'm looking at the YouTube. It's still, I mean, it's showing it's recording. It's live. We'll see here. I'll keep it here for a few seconds. That's YouTube. That's why people are moving away from it. And everything I'm looking at, okay, it looks like it's okay. It's about to come back now. It's coming back. Maybe you can let everybody know it's coming back. It looks like they're all seeing it. Once they see this little stream on the side, we'll get back on target here. Okay, it's working.
Okay.
Okay. All right. I'm going to minimize that. Let's go back to what we were talking about here. So there's no way that we can tell how old this blood is. That's frustrating. That sucks. Okay. Much better. All right. Let me know.
I'm just going to have to say that this print was definitely staged, whether it was a handprint, a kindergarten art project, or a footprint. I'm open to anything right now, like you are, Greg, and the it just doesn't add up to what the autopsy report says about David's foot. I don't think he made it. Now, they tested this footprint, and it came back to Camille's blood. So David's DNA was not found in this, even though he was barefoot. He's barefoot and walking along a wooden floor. He would have sloughed off tons of DNA cells, and it's just not there.
But they didn't test that, did they? They did. Let me see.
Yeah, they
Let me
tested
go.
the footprint,
I'm just trying
or
to find
whatever
the
it is.
page. Okay.
If this was his footprints, though, there would be blood on his feet. For them to point out in the autopsy that, oh, there's blood on his feet, so this coincides with the bloody footprints we found on the floor. Right?
Could you repeat that one more time, please?
So, if these are his footprints that we're looking at, 14 and 15, it would have been noted in the autopsy report, because with the blood, with the amount of blood that would have been on his feet to make these prints, there would have been dried blood on his feet, and they would have noted it in the autopsy report.
Correct. Yes, they would have noted it. And in the autopsy report, they said that his nails or his toenails were clean and neatly trimmed, or it wasn't neatly trimmed and clean. There was no mention of dried blood or gunk or anything in his feet or toenails.
So then, I mean, that goes right along with what Catherine's saying, that these aren't his feet. These
Yes,
are not
correct.
his footprints.
Correct.
Well, yeah, if that's item 14, they didn't test item 15 for whatever reason, but 14 they did, and it doesn't match David or Rania. Only Camille.
Mm-mm. Correct. And there should be some mixture in there. If it came off of David's foot. Just like the wall. if he was using his bare hand and he was going against the wall to write that, whatever you wrote on there, he would have been sloughing off DNA skin cells with each stroke.
That's what I was saying. His DNA is surprisingly lacking in a house where supposedly it was only him, Kamel, and Ranny for several months, because he's such a control freak that, you know, he just cut everybody off. It doesn't make sense why his DNA is not more present in the house.
Yeah, it should be. They live there. There should be DNA everywhere. There should be fingerprints everywhere.
Okay, so let's go. Okay, so here's.
I think she was talking about the footprints and what they were sprayed with, and it was the Amano Black.
Yeah, we're going to look at that next. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, it's coming up. So it's very important to note 14 and then E. Okay, so I'm going to go back a few steps here. There's 14. There's 15. And there's 14 and E. Again. 14. 15. 14E. Oh, you guys are way behind.
Catherine said, you cannot tell how long blood has been on the floor except when there are certain conditions that end up in a skeletonized blood pattern. However, you can say all the blood was put on the floor at the same time at about even amounts and it dried fairly evenly.
Right, and if David was on the carpet, if he goes from here to the carpet, that could be why there's not as much blood found on his feet, because it all wiped on to that carpet. So what we're looking at now is BCA 5015. BCA 5015. See the nice little marker they have there. You see the number. You see the letter E next to the number 14.
Okay.
Go ahead.
No, we were just waiting for it to come up.
Okay. All right, so
and with
go
this
ahead.
photo right here,
Mhm.
it's the Amano Black that they sprayed it with. And it looks like, did they cover it with a plastic? There's a lot of shine.
I think that's just from them spraying it.
Okay. See, after they spray that on there, you can really see.
Yeah, so let's go look at some of those.
Catherine did a video where she overlays the two.
What's the
I
do we
thought
know
it
the
was
title of
pretty
that
cool.
video?
Oh, where she overlays the two?
Catherine, what is the title of your video with the footprints, or where you do the demonstration for the footprints? Hopefully she'll respond.
Okay. I'm gonna go to.
Joanna Love says, does not sound like a control freak. Sounds like someone in fear for their lives. What's where?
Selfies, toxicology report, and finger paint 4 months ago.
What's where? Please cover it up or stage scene or both. Yeah, if you saw our last video, what's where, when we're talking about the skull, they're very, very active in this whole cover-up thing. I'm just coming out and saying it now.
What was war? Okay, cool. And Johanna, thank you for joining us here too. Awesome. I'm pulling up the image right now that's going to show 14E and 15D before it was sprayed, and then we can look at that.
Yeah, I always found the lack of footprints in blood and the lack of dog prints very interesting in regards to this case. Was David even there at the time? Shady Lady's writing, was David even there at the time? Everything points to Kamel. The prints on the gun safe, the blood on the wall and the floor. I think David was incapacitated. Kamel struggled to save her life and Ronnie's.
Shh. Kitty, come on.
Kitty is being very vocal
She's
tonight.
very vocal. I'm not sure what her problem is. Come on, Kitty. You're okay. Alright.
You know, I always got the impression that Ronnie was shot first. That it was an accident. Especially because of the lack of stippling. That's just my opinion, though. And then things just spiraled out of control from there.
The biggest problem that I'm having with these footprints, with these prints here, is where they are. Because this is not where David allegedly writes on the on that laptop. I need to go back and look at that too. But it's kind of in a different area.
This is further by where the footstool would be, or is it over by the island?
It's by the island. It's
Yes.
it's almost on, I'm going to pull up 5018. It's almost by this side of the island. You can tell by where that vent is. So I'll have to look a little deeper into that. But item 35 is David's cell phone. The cell phone is bloody, but the headphones associated with the cell phone are not.
Mhm.
And it's, you know, there's two lighters out here, and then another iPad or some type of pad there.
Did we ever find cigarettes at the crime scene?
No. Nope.
Lots of lighters, but no cigarettes.
Nope.
No ashtrays either.
Nope. Nope.
Or
nope.
am I wrong?
Nope. You're right.
So,
Well, if they smoked pot, I mean, they would have a lighter. If they had candles, they would have a lighter. If If they had a barbecue, even depending on what kind of a barbecue it was, they'd have a lighter for that.
Yeah, they probably wouldn't put two of them out on the same table right next to each other, but
On the counter, it's always looked to me like David just like dumped everything out of, either David took everything out of his pockets or somebody took everything out of David's pockets.
this looks like
And
a
just
hostage
dropped it in
situation.
the-
Yes, that's exactly what it looks like. It's somebody saying, take everything out of your pockets, take it out. I mean, I don't know. You have that. You have this marker here next to the 35. You guys will see that in a few seconds. There's a yellow marker, but to the left in the same image here, there is a orange marker that just leads. I'm not sure where that leads to. I'm not sure what we're supposed to be looking at there next to this My Little Pony thing. You guys will all see that in a few seconds here. It's just crazy.
It's just with the amount of lighters, I would have expected that they were smokers, and I just always assumed that they were.
I mean, if
Which
they
was
were,
odd because they were health nuts.
I mean, well, okay, but they wouldn't have any like ashtrays or anything like that inside the house, right? All that stuff would be outside, which is also
Possibly, yeah.
that's another way for another reason for the rear slider to be open. And I mean, if they are smoking cigarettes, they're probably not going to smoke it inside the house or anything like that. It's all going to be outside. But why there's two lighters so close to each other next to the cell phone just does not make sense. But
And Stephanie's correct. It looks like he just dumped his pockets right there onto the counter. And I've always thought the same thing. So why would he be carrying two lighters in his pockets? If that was the scenario. It's odd.
I smoke, and I've got lighters in my purse. I've got lighters in my coat pockets. I've got lighters on my dresser. My little sister and her husband don't smoke anything at all, but they have lighters because she uses what are they called? She uses like scented candles and those incense sticks.
Mhm.
You know, so you would need a lighter for something like that. But this, I don't know, it looks like with the way the stuff is on the counter, it looks like it was just taken out of his pockets, and that's the catch-all for where he empties his pockets. But I would think that would have been in the bedroom.
Yeah. Yeah.
let's see if I can find another image of that island counter. So that island counter is pretty important.
The other,
Go ahead.
So in the bathroom, they've got the pipe cleaners in the trash can, and they've got the bong up on the shelf, and then they've got the stems for the bong right next to the bong. They're like in the shelf. And then you've got the big lighter, the real big long one that's on the floor of the bathroom. So that leads me to believe that they might have been, smoking in either the bathroom or in their bedroom.
Correct.
So I don't know, it really seems weird that he would be dumping his pockets on the island when, it seems to me that the paraphernalia, for better lack of a generalized word for all that stuff, is it's all kind of secluded to the bedroom bathroom area where Kamel and David were not renting. So I would think if that's where all that stuff is, he would have dumped his pockets in the bedroom. Because if it's on the counter, Randy would be able to get a hold of it. In the office, there was some lighters there. I don't know. It's weird. It stuck out. It was weird.
And we didn't see any packs of cigarettes at all.
Yeah, and
Not
there weren't cigarette butts around the house. I
or
smoke
outside
outside, and I've got like a butt can. It's actually a terracotta plant pot, but that's where I throw all my cigarette butts, and when it gets full, I just dump it in the garbage. But if he was a smoker, there'd be evidence of it. If he or Kamel was a smoker, you would see cigarette butts around the house. There would be pictures somewhere.
There should be a
them,
pack. There should be a cigarette pack somewhere.
A cigarette in their hand. Yes, there should be evidence of it. There should be either an empty cigarette pack or full cigarette packs in there somewhere, and there's not.
No.
Like even on the counter where the lighters are, or out maybe in the garage if he was to lift up the garage door to smoke, especially during the winter. I just don't. Or maybe even the back porch, near the back porch, because if he was to leave it outside, wouldn't it get wet or gross? The pack of cigarettes?
Yeah.
Right, if it was left outside or in the garage even, the moisture, especially during the winter, would make them go stale and nasty quicker. So if he or Kamel was a smoker, you would have found cigarettes wherever they dumped their pockets, or in a purse even.
Okay. I just have an aunt that would sneak cigarettes, and she would hide them in the garage
Oh.
when she was sneaking them. But if you're going to carry that many lighters, it's pretty obvious.
There's a lot of lighters in this house.
They would like to know, do we know if any other members of the GS team smoked?
Not that I know of. No. Some of them were, kind of health nuts. So I don't know. I don't know of any of them that smoked. I've never seen any of them smoke on anything. So I don't know.
That's a good question. And they would like for you to look at the thermostat when you have a moment, please.
Yeah, the thermostat was set to 68, to hold at 68.
And on hold.
Yes. Yeah. Let me see if I could find that one. That might have been in the original 464.
What was War asked, could the bodies have come from a body farm research facility?
What is...
I'm not...
Samantha
had
she had mentioned something about that I should research that. That's the second time I've heard. Let me look in the comment there. Come from a body farm research facility. Samantha had told me to look into that. That's interesting. Maybe who made that comment? What was War? Maybe what was War? Maybe you can...
What was War?
You can elaborate a little bit on that. I'm going to pull up the image. This is DSC 0079, and this shows that the thermostat was set to hold at 68. Go ahead.
I think that they only have adults because their bodies are donated to science. The child would have to, I don't know, been stolen from a mass grave. I don't know. I don't think children's bodies can be donated. Please correct me if I'm wrong.
But were they donate? I mean, are they saying donated to the bodies? Like that's the bodies that were there?
Mm-hmm.
Found at the crime scene? Okay. Okay, I just want to make sure I understand.
I was watching some guy on TikTok, which is brief clips, video clips, and he is a doctor who works with cadavers, and he was talking about tattooing cadaver skin. And I need to finish watching his series because it was really interesting. One of the members in the group had shown me his video, and he was talking about how ink would just come right off of cadaver skin, but I'm not sure about tattoos. So I need to finish so we could discuss that.
Just writing something here.
What is a corset? They were talking about Kamel wearing a corset,
Mm-hmm.
and I've always been confused by that. Let me see what a modern corset looks like on Google.
I'll race you.
All I keep thinking of is looking at something from the 1800s.
I'm pulling it up right now. Whoa, maybe I shouldn't pull that up. That's a little too graphic there, but
Be
let me go
careful
back.
about what
Yeah,
you
I know.
Google.
I know, right? What the heck? Wasn't expecting that, but okay. Yeah, to me it just seems something. It was an intimate thing between David and his wife. I mean, that kind of showed that they had a healthy relationship. Was kind of the way that I took it, but obviously I spelled it wrong too. C-O-R, not K-O-R.
Oh, okay. So like holding in the waist.
Mm-hmm. To slim, it's like a slimming thing. You know, people do. I know some women could do that after a pregnancy or something like that too. But you know, obviously there's many reasons for that. But she was wearing this. She was wearing something like this image that I'm pulling up here.
My daughter is wearing like a maternity belt right now to help her back. And Camille had arthritis. I wonder if she also had it in her back too.
It could be.
And it was maybe a support for that. Otherwise, there's some pretty interesting corsets going on here. Yeah. Well, it was right after Christmas. Maybe it was a gift.
There you go. Would have been good to know. So the next image, and I'll let, if anybody else wants to comment on there, the next image I'm pulling up is the one that you have of the marijuana that drove them all crazy.
Patty just confirmed that there are no children at Potty Farms, just adults.
Oh, okay. Good to know.
Paulette said they could have got them from a morgue hospital or killed them themselves. That's a little tragic to think about. Shady Lady says, I have friends who wear some dainty underwear to make themselves look nice.
It's a waist trainer. Yep. Sassy might be right. Makes sense. I'll let you guys catch up to me. A girdle. That's what I kept thinking. A girdle when they said corset. So now we're going to look at image. Let me pull up image BCA 4543. As we try to keep up, frantically trying to keep up with all the great comments that are in the comment room right now.
Before we end the call tonight, would you like to discuss item 57 and photos?
Sure.
Okay. That is an interesting part of this story.
Okay. Was there anything specific that you wanted to talk about? I mean, maybe we should finish these images here
Sure.
first, but if there's something specific you want to talk about, for sure. I will make a note of it.
We're still looking at corsets?
No, we're looking at looking at the
weed on the
we're looking
dresser?
at the weed here on the dresser with the honey.
Okay, Stephanie, why don't you go ahead and take the weed on the dresser, because this was your idea.
Okay, so looking at the grinders, it would be BCA 4542. And
Greg, you should have that photo. I sent it to you.
4542. Okay.
It's the one with the grinder and then the top.
it shows the bottom of the grinder and the bag of weed and the top of the grinder, I think, over the grinder top is quite a ways away from the bottom. And that's what bothered me so much about the weed on the dresser is if you're going to open this, you're gonna open it for the sole purpose of getting the weed out of it to load a bowl, right? So you're gonna have whatever you're about to put the weed in right there with you, whether it's a bong stem or a pipe or rolling a joint or whatever. It would be right there, and it's not. You've got the grinder bottom with the weed in it, and when I had made the post, somebody pointed out that the tweezers were for picking out seeds, which, hey, that's really logical, actually. I know a lot of people that don't use tweezers or anything like that. They just use their fingers. So it was weird to me that there was nothing for the weed to be loaded into on that dresser, and the lid was so far away from the base. Like normally when you would open a grinder, you would set it right next to it and then typically close it when you're done. Because you really, weed's kind of expensive, so you don't really want to dump it everywhere or leave it where little kids can get it.
Yep.
It's not exactly safe, in my opinion, for it to be left out where kids can get it, because, even if it is just weed, it could still mess them up. Not good for children whose developing brains need time to develop to be given any kind of drug. It has adverse reactions. They may not be right then and there, but long term, any child subjected to any kind of drug, whether it be natural or pharmaceutical, will have some sort of long-term effect of it. Sorry, that was rambling. But as far as the grinder goes, the weed looks staged to me. The lid is so far apart, it's almost to the edge of the dresser. In my opinion, the lid for the grinder is so far apart. The pipe is across the bedroom on the on that shelf underneath where the gun safe was.
Right.
And that it's weird. There's weed on the dresser, like somebody, maybe made a mess when they were loading a bowl, or maybe made a mess when they were opening the grinder or whatever. But it just, I don't know, it either looks like a staged scene or a scene interrupted.
Yep.
To me.
Yeah, it's very far off.
Well, they
Very.
also have the big bong and a couple other one hitters in the bathroom.
Right.
And were they smoking this in the house around a child?
Yep. You can see that.
In my opinion, they were smoking it in the master bedroom, master bathroom. Which, I mean, my opinion on that doesn't really have anything to do with the case. I really could care less if they smoked or not. My biggest thing with the weed was it's here on this dresser, it's open, there's a bong in the bathroom with evidence that it was cleaned recently. There's a pipe across the room from the weed on the dresser, but there's no drugs in either David or Kamel's system. Now, if they were smoking pot, it would be in their system. It would be in the toxicology report. It would have showed. So clearly it had been some time since they had smoked.
I wish that they would have done the testing on their hair. Well, at least the hair that they found at the crime scene, so we could know for sure whether or not they had been smoking at all.
But weed will stay in your system for up to 30 days. So I mean, that's it should if it's here, it should be here. It kind of looks like looking back at the image of the weed. It almost looks like they never got to it. Something happened before they could actually smoke the weed. It's way too. Looking at this bag, I mean, yeah, okay, maybe there was something there. I was thinking the tweezers could be because they didn't want to put their hands on it. They didn't want to touch it. So moving it from the tweezers into the bong or into the pipe, whatever. Seeds would make more sense though, but seeds would have. I mean, that's kind of the point of the grinder. But anyways, never been a big fan of that grinder anyway.
Well, with the grinder, the top lid that is closer to the edge of the dresser,
Yeah.
that actually has a top piece that you put the bigger pieces of weed, like what you see in that bag, into the top and close it, and then you twist it together, like holding the top piece and the bottom piece. You twist it, and it grinds it down into a screened compartment, which is what you see.
So they hadn't even grinded
on
it
that
yet.
bottom piece.
So they hadn't even done that yet.
No, it's ground up.
Oh, it is. Okay.
It's ground up, is what I'm saying. It's
Okay.
ground up in that bottom piece. Like, to me, it looks like somebody loaded this grinder, ground it up, and then opened it, and then something happened.
Okay.
You know? Because otherwise, to me, there should be something there that they were about to do with the weed, like a pipe, a paper, a blunt wrap, a bong stem, whatever they were about to load this into, but nothing is around that.
All right, then let's move on to. We got some really great comments in the chat room.
Yeah, they really are making a lot of great points.
Yep.
Not a hard time keeping up.
I would have to agree with Sassy. I've never seen anybody use The only thing I've ever seen people use tweezers for is if they have a roach, which is like the very smallest end of a joint. That's the only reason I've ever seen tweezers used in that case. So I don't know. That's a great point, though. Seeds, you're probably not going to need. You're not going to need to use tweezers. And if you've ever tried to pick up a seed with tweezers, probably not the best idea either, but that's a whole
But they
nother.
just like popped right out right around. That's why the tweezers threw me for a loop.
Yeah,
They're
See, I've
picking
never
out
smoked
seeds.
it.
yeah.
Even picking out the seeds out of the grinder is still hard because they're pretty hard and round, and I mean tweezers are good at plucking hairs and stems, but
They're
real
not.
great at picking up balls.
No, they're not going to pick up seeds for sure. Okay, so the next image here we're looking at, open the Rise most recent version, submit to Allah now. Let's see, that is image BCA 4594. This is probably, this has got to be one of the most significant things that leads to a stage scene. Whether you want to believe that David staged this scene or somebody else did, I think this is very clear here. This shows that the scene was staged for the police, for the investigators, for them to come in and get an open and shut case here. You know, it's just, first of all, why are you going to leave this note here? And you're going to leave two notes. Two that have nothing to do with the other. Two separate notes. And then you're going to leave this and
Right.
not sign it. Go ahead.
We're not seeing the wall, and they're asking for you to go back to the end table. I'm assuming the end table that was in the bedroom. You were just on that, correct? Hopefully they can correct me in the chat if I'm wrong.
Sure.
Did we ever get a confirmation through the phone records where Chris Peck had said that he texted David or David had texted him to get more weed or something like that?
I'm sorry, can you repeat it again? I was typing.
Chris Peck was the one who sold David and Kamel the weed, right?
Yes.
Okay, so did we ever confirm with the phone records where that exchange took place, whether it was him that contacted David or David that contacted Chris Peck?
No, there's nothing in the phone records for December. There is a call in November, but that was it. They really want you to go back to the end table. She's getting a little upset. Are you there, Greg?
Hello?
He's on mute right now. He said that he's going to go back, that it's buffering right now.
Okay.
Yeah, there is a call around the 16th in November to, I think it was from David to Chris, but I need to double check on that one. But that's it. There's nothing in December. And there's not any social media contact either with him. Otherwise, they would have put it in there. And they specifically mentioned cell phone, but they show no proof.
Oh, is that where the burner idea came in?
I'm sorry? Oh, the burner phone?
Yeah, can you hear me all right?
It's kind of muffled.
Hold on one second.
Okay, I could hear you better. Yeah, several people had mentioned burner phones, but then when we checked the search warrants don't show any burner phones were taken from the house. I don't see anything on their financial records either paying for a burner phone.
Well, if it had been in November that they bought it from him, and then they smoked some and died a month later, or over a month later, that would explain why it's not in their systems, but it just seems like a long shot with that.
Yeah. I've never smoked it, so I honestly don't know.
Well, weed supposedly stays in your system for 30 days, and there's all kinds of things that you can supposedly do to get it out of your system faster, or what have you. But typically, I think it's 30 days, and so, I mean, I don't know as far as a decomposing body goes how long it would stay in your system, but I would think if they tested for all kinds of different things and said in the toxicology report that, you know, no substances were detected, that means they didn't find any weed, right?
Correct. And since there was weed found at the crime scene, and I'm fairly certain that the officers would have discussed that with the ME at the time that she was there, that would be part of the testing that they ran.
Right.
But there's nothing in those tests.
The weed was just weird to me because of the way it all was just laid out. You know, even if they were smoking in their bedroom, I don't see it just being left out like that. It doesn't make sense to me, but maybe that's just because of, you know, who I am.
I don't see them doing it around a small child. I've been around people who, not been around them, but they've lived up above me, and they'll smoke it, but after their kids would go to school, or if their kids are not there that night, they never do it around. I mean, it seeps through the vents and everything.
Right,
Because
it's a
we get it
very, very
downstairs.
strong smell.
Oh, yes, it is. It's very.
You can get a contact high from
Well, I had gotten so mad because I was going to the pain specialist the next day, and they had smoked it so much that it was very prevalent in our apartment. And I had to turn around and leave because I was being drug tested the next day when I went to the pain specialist. And if I had popped positive, I wouldn't have been able to get my medication.
Yeah, that would have messed up your whole thing.
And I'm looking at the comments.
Okay, I'm going back to that table.
Oh, hey, Greg.
Hey.
Did you feed the kitty?
I did.
Welcome back.
So we were just talking about the weed and how strong it can get, because I have neighbors who smoke it. And one night they smoked so much that it seeped through the vents, and our whole apartment smelled like a weed den. And I actually had to leave the apartment when we got home because I couldn't be around it, since I was going to the pain specialist the next day, and they drug test you.
Mm.
And that's why I just have a hard time believing that they would smoke with a child in the house and take that risk of her getting a contact high.
Especially with how Kamel was with, like, eating healthy and, like, what goes into the body and things like that.
Mhm.
Like,
and it always struck me odd about the friends and Judy talking about soda being, like, cups of soda being left on the counter. If they were health nuts and they were eating healthy, they obviously knew how bad soda was, even diet.
Well, Judy said there was bags of chips all over the counter as well, and I don't see bags of junk food chips. I see food bags there, but they don't look like chips to me.
Unless the friends had brought it and were snacking at the scene after the cleaners came.
Ugh.
Could you,
I really hope not. I really hope not.
I can't even imagine snacking where my friends died.
I'm just, them being in that house at all, the
Yeah.
friends being in that house at all, just, that's a button pusher for me. It's a very big button pusher because I wouldn't want to do it. I would not want to go in a house where my friend, supposedly this person that I'm, so very close to, had just supposedly killed his wife and his daughter and himself. I wouldn't want to be in that house. I wouldn't want to be near that house. I would be completely devastated.
And then they're bragging or talking about going into the house the day after the police finished up and the day before the crime scene cleanup team was there. So it wasn't cleaned. It was still dirty. It was still toxic and contaminated.
It was still a biohazard.
Exactly.
It was still a biohazard at that point. So why were they in there, one? And how the hell did they know that the police missed that bullet in the ceiling?
I don't think that they knew that. I don't think that the police missed it. They would like for you to zoom in on that second shelf, Greg, please.
Okay.